The following program is a collection of stooges talking about happenings in the sports world. It is meant to be comedic informative. The opinions expressed on this show do not necessarily reflect the beliefs of their peers, their boss, or ESPN. There may be some cuss words because that's how humans in the real world talk. If you are young, please seek permission before watching any further.
Hey,
Why?
let's go!
This show stinks, and the fact that you listen, we are very, very thankful for.
McAfee on the line with a gorgeous assist.
The all-time leading tackler for the Green Bay Packers.
You pink!
Damn it! Be a friend, tell a friend something nice could change their life. Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to our humble abode, the Thunderdome, on this Hell Yeah Thursday, April 3rd, 2025. This program starts now.
Hell yeah!
Hell right.
Hell right.
It's going to be a great Thursday. We've got a lot of sports happening. Obviously, the NFL had a massive trade this morning, which we'll certainly discuss. Baseball had a big-time night by its biggest star. Hockey's happening with the Great Eight having a chase, even in a losing effort, scores another goal. And obviously, the sports world is alive. We can't thank you enough for allowing us to chit-chat about it every single day. Have a couple great guests happening just in a matter of moments. We'll have Dahn Orlovsky joining us. Dahn Orlovsky, obviously host of ESPN's NFL Live. He also commentates games. We don't know what his future is business-wise. Haven't seen any passive-aggressive tweets.
Sure. Yeah, some tweets.
We'll certainly ask him about it. But yesterday I saw a tweet involving him that made me get a little bit emotional when his son Madden, who is an autistic lad, to celebrate World Autism Awareness Day, was surprised, I believe, by everybody at the ESPN NFL crew, where I think Dan and his wife took a bunch of his drawings that he has, and they surprised him and put it up all around the studio and the set. And his son Madden has autism, and he's I don't want to describe. I've been around him, and I feel like I'm friends of the family, kind of. So the way Dan describes it is, he's there, but he's not really present. He's like kind of around. He's 11, 12 years old, whatever the case is. And he felt like yesterday was the most present he had ever been. And as a dad, having this moment with Matt, his other kids are all very athletic. They've had a lot of success. I think they do a lot of things. Madden, I assume, is the quiet one who is just kind of yesterday, he got a chance to kind of be celebrated by his family and by his dad's friends, and then his siblings' friends, and then his friends brought it. It was like, what a magical day here for the Orlovsky family yesterday. I got teared up literally thinking about it right now, but also watching it, just because that moment for Dan, I assume, was so cool to watch Madden in an element that he felt incredibly comfortable with. And we'll chat to Dan about that, and then we'll also ask Dan about what's going on around these quarterbacks. Shedeur Sanders' pro day tomorrow. Whoa.
Big one.
That's a big deal. Obviously, let's hear what Dan Orlovsky's thinking. Shedeur, number 2 quarterback in the draft, is what everybody is saying at this point. Where will he end up going? Who will end up spending a top pick on a draft, on a quarterback? And will Shedeur Sanders be a starting quarterback next year? Will he end up in a place where maybe he'll back up for a stopgap? Potentially. The guy can spin it. We saw how incredibly tough he is. And his entire life, he's got a chance to witness what greatness looks like with his father, who's one of the greatest athletes of all time. The work ethic, the accountability, the discipline, you name it. You would think inheritedly he would have everything you'd want in a professional football player. Will he be a guy that will change a program? We shall ask Dahn Orlovsky that question. Hopefully he'll give us a good answer. And then the second hour, we got Karl Ravech.
Yeah, Ravi. Let's go.
It's going to be Ravy time. Ravy time. Talking baseball with Ravy guy.
Yep. Nice.
Yeah, that's what it will be, a little bit more baseball talk, because last night baseball was awesome. Now, it's not just those. It's not just me. It's also the boys at the Talks table, at Boston Connor and at Ty Schmidt. Boys, wild weather here.
Oh, man.
In Indiana last night. One half of the Hammer, Dahn, Ball Cap Boys, AP Tone. Tone and I grew up on the same street in Pittsburgh. Very hilly area, doesn't have a lot of tornadoes. Ty, you grew up in Iowa. I think that is a tornado area.
Correct.
Con man, you're from Massachusetts. Not a lot of tornadoes up there.
Never.
Last night was the realest that our area of Indiana has had since I've got here. South side of Indianapolis had a tornado maybe 10 years, 15 years ago that really took out a neighborhood. And then Indiana itself has tornadoes on a regular basis. Normally it's like an hour and a half south of the city, hour north of the city. A couple neighborhoods have been hit a few times. But Indianapolis normally misses it for whatever reason. Last night, couple touchdown literally right in the middle of big-time Indianapolis neighborhoods. And obviously there was some devastation in some parts of town. Brownsburg, which is on the west side of Indianapolis, which was the town that I lived in for the first 5 years. I lived here in Indianapolis. The Bulldogs, great community, great people. A warehouse got blown over, I believe. There was bad warehouse goes down. Unaccounted people. I think there was some streets, obviously lights and houses that happened. So just know that with storms happening right now, and I don't know if we are in the time of these storms to continue, and I don't know how long the season is. It's incredibly scary, the tornadoes. And now I know everybody has their natural disasters and everything. Tornado season is wild because it can pop up out of nowhere. Okay, so it can pop up out of nowhere, and then literally you're just looking up at the sky hoping that it doesn't like just pick you, because those things will come down and then bang, they'll do some devastation, and then they'll hit like one house in a full neighborhood, and then pick up and move, and then wipe out a whole neighborhood over here, and then pick up and be over, or move to a completely different trajectory. It's like there's no predictability out of it. You have no clue what's coming, how devastating it's going to be, and every time I've experienced it, it's scary as shit. So we will obviously help however we can here in our city of Indianapolis for the people that had any devastation, but also to everybody that experienced that and is going to. Positive vibes. It is an anxiety riddle, especially now that we have a daughter. You know, it's the first real one that has come to Indianapolis since daughter has been alive. And it's like, okay, her room's upstairs. Mm-hmm. You don't have to be from a tornado place to know you're supposed to get Dahn. Mm-hmm. But it's like, also, she just fell asleep. So how real? And then once you get the alert on the phone, and then you hear the siren going on outside the house, it's kind of like an eerie sound hidden. And then all of a sudden that lightning turns into a purple and a blue and a green. And then the wind is insane. And on the water that I live, these waves were crashing like it was the Pacific Ocean. I mean, it was a wild night here in Indianapolis, which I assume it was. Arkansas, I believe Kentucky got some. I think even up into Michigan, there was a little bit of storms. I assume Ohio got some as well. So T's and P's to everybody. We will help out however possible. But I think that was your first time, right, Connor, being in the middle of it?
Yeah, never heard a tornado siren in my life. And allegedly, there was one last year downtown. I don't remember that, but I've never heard it, never seen the green lightning. And I feel like for someone who has, never experienced something like that, when you picture tornadoes, it's not nighttime. So, like, the fact that it was night and there was these insane winds, insane rain, like you talk about, kind of just never knowing where it's going to touch down. Like when you can't see it, it literally is impossible. I kept kind of watching the lightning go off, waiting to see, some sort of tornado touchdown, not in the city, because like Ty's explained to me, like living downtown, that's basically where, you are kind of safer from tornadoes because they don't really go through cities. But I was trying to look out kind of up towards you guys, because up towards you guys were the path that they were kind of, projecting.
The squares on the map.
Yeah.
And Angela Buckman, WTHR last night, and her tag team partner, I forget his name, I apologize, handsome fella, they were on it. Also, Ryan Hall, y'all, this YouTuber, I was on with him after our storms passed. Have a smart TV, turn on smart TV, was heading over, I think Hulu was out or something. I forget why I couldn't log into my Hulu. I think I had too many
devices. Because
my internet changed, so I couldn't log in. So I went over to YouTube or whatever, and Ryan Hall, y'all, was right on the homepage. It was like 253,000 concurrents, and I clicked on it. This is a sophisticated operation here. I mean, sophisticated. Little tag team partner that drops in there in the lower right corner. He's giving updates on updates on updates. Ryan Hall, y'all, at one point, I only got to see a little bit of it. I think he said, we've been streaming for, and he looks at the clock and he goes, 10 hours. But you see him do this, and then like a new warning comes across the top of the screen. Like his setup was insane. He was covering Kentucky, Arkansas, Indianapolis, Indiana, and it's oddly fascinating to watch it all happen. But the reason why it's so fascinating is because you have no idea what it's going to do. Mm-hmm. And like on the meteorology on the map there, Doppler, there's like a little hook in the red or the purple, and they're like, that's a tornado right there. And it like looks quiet, obviously, and they're like, then they start drawing out trajections of this thing, and it's like a wide net, and you're just hoping your town isn't in the net. And then as it starts moving, that thing gets kind of smaller. And you're right, yeah. Basically everywhere where we live was kind of in the that's the first time I've ever seen. I mean, my house was sitting directly in the middle of where it was headed.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know which room is the right. I'm just going in the basement here. We gotta get 4 cats, 2 dogs. Daughter obviously is going to be with us, And who knows what's left standing at the end of this. And luckily we were missed. A lot of people are missed in that whole thing. But it's an anxiety time. And in Carmel, they had Carmel, which is a suburb of Indianapolis on the north side, normally ends up in like Reader's Choice best towns to live. They have more roundabouts here than maybe anywhere else. Yep. Beautiful town, great town. They had a tornado touchdown, very abnormal. Brownsburg, obviously, very abnormal. It's like, we're in it, and we hope everybody's okay. Tone, I know you were chasing them last night. Thought about getting out on the street and following along from the text that I was reading from you, pal.
Yeah, it was the first time that we were in a situation where the siren went off, and then the TV was like, you got a good chance of it. And then obviously you got 2 alerts on your phone, like an Amber, like you're used to the Amber Alert things going off. I haven't had one yet for a tornado, I don't think. So yeah, I got
loud on the phone.
Oh yeah.
So I got the wife and daughter and the dogs in the basement. I need to go see it. So I went outside and I stood on my porch, seeing if I could see anything. I couldn't. And then it got real windy, so I headed downstairs.
So you couldn't Cantori it.
I could have.
Didn't ride the lightning.
Well, if you can feel it.
You can chase it.
Amen.
Right in a Ram truck, Dodge Ram truck,
right.
obviously.
I put my urges and my wants and my needs to the side, and I wanted to head downstairs, make sure everybody was
with your
all right.
family.
Yeah,
that's a family man right there.
That's smart.
Family first, tornado chasing second.
You know, in my household, that's good list. That's a good list. I appreciate. I'd be excited to hear the rest of that list as well. I don't have family, football gambling record. Yeah, exactly. You've had a couple different lists. The issue that Sam and I were having last night, and obviously made sure baby girl was okay. We wanted to see it.
Yeah,
sure.
You know. So all Angela Buckman at WTHR kept telling me was, get away from the windows. Get away from the windows. And I'm like, well, how can I see it? You know. And I'm from Pittsburgh, so I'm like, we'll know if the windows, right? In there, a heads up that, hey, windows are going to cave on us. And Sam's like, not really. And I'm like, okay. But we would want to watch this, don't we? She's like, yeah. So obviously make sure baby girl's okay. Then we're watching out of this there's like a tiny little window, like connected to the room that we were in. And I'm just sitting there just looking at this thing. And all of a sudden you start to see like a little bit of rattle. And I'm like, oh, how strong is this window? Is this why we're not in there? Let alone the thought of things getting picked up and like coming through it and everything. And I, just like you, Tone, I was like, I'm going to watch this whole thing. And then I immediately was like, okay, let's hunker down. I don't know if I'm built for this.
Yeah, I mean, I love watching storms. It's just kind of just how you're built.
The green lightning was wild.
Never seen
I don't know.
that
Is that
before.
generators getting hit? Is that what that is? Is that a lightning bolt hitting a generator and then it going back?
Yeah.
Because isn't lightning this, right?
Yeah, I Googled it. So it has something to do with like the temperature that is, in the clouds versus on the ground, and green lightning is like
the barometer?
very specific to tornadoes. Like if you see green lightning, that is a sign that one is coming.
Neighbor over here lost a trampoline. I don't know if they know yet.
We almost got a free one.
Yeah, that thing was up over the thing. Garbage can came through our gate over here. Gonna have to get that fixed.
Saw a stoplight, on the ground, completely, bent over.
Telephone pole on the ground,
Yeah.
I believe. Trees, obviously, are going to be falling over. There's outside of our place right there. Just like that, a garbage can did that to our steel gate. Like that's what the wind was like.
Exactly.
So now, granted, that wind had to get that garbage can on it pretty good. Like, all right, let's get these wheels down here, and they were really, really rolling that. That's a
100 mile an hour.
That's a bull.
Garbage can.
That's a bull coming through there.
Faster than that. I might have been going 200 miles.
Yeah, we honestly don't know with what last night was. What we're saying is last night was insane across the Midwest. If you were a part of it, obviously we will send you positive vibes, wishes, and prayers. And obviously, if you can help out to your communities that get devastated by these things, you certainly should. Just like we were able to do with the hurricane relief, we will certainly do the same here with tornadoes, especially in our city here of Indianapolis, Indiana. Now, moving forward, the NFL had a big trade this morning.
Huge.
I don't know if you heard or not. Bazooka Joe Milton, formerly of the University of Tennessee, then of the New England Patriots, has now been traded to the Dallas Cowboys.
Wow.
Alongside a 7th-round pick, in return, the Patriots will get a 5th-round pick. We all thought that Joe was potentially going to be on the move because he and Drake May, obviously same class. Drake May has proven, even though in a losing bout in his first season, that he's going to be a guy making throws all over the place. Then Joe Milton got some playing time, and I'll tell you what, he was good. He could spin it. He could do a standing backflip. Obviously, not a lot of humans can do that in full pads. You have to be an incredible athlete to be able to do as such. His arm strength is absurd, and obviously he can move. So Joe Milton, we thought, earned himself at least a little bit of attention or opportunity whenever he got on the field, and he now has earned himself an opportunity to be the backup for the Dallas Cowboys with Dak Prescott. Cooper Rush, now a member of the Baltimore Ravens. Trey Lance, no longer there. Now we got Joe Milton as the Dallas Cowboys backup quarterback. Let's go to New England Patriots fan, Boston Connor. You're losing Joe. How do you feel?
Yeah, Joe Milton's kind of been on the trade block, it feels like, ever since the Patriots signed Josh Dobbs this offseason, and it is a bummer because Joe Milton, you said it, guy can throw it a country mile, and we see the athleticism. It is awesome, and there's always that thought of, hey, you got two young quarterbacks. Who knows if Drake goes down, maybe Joe Milton steps up and becomes something. But no, I think since Drake May has started playing, since Drake May has really gotten to New England, it's been all about him. I think everyone that is a Patriots fan is happy that Drake May is just kind of getting the keys completely. 5th-round pick. I think a lot of people assume 2 5th-rounders, 2 3rd-rounders now for New England. That kind of gives them a little bit of maybe a chance
bundle
to get back up into the 1st round later on.
A little bit of a bundle opportunity.
Yeah, a little bit of a bundle Rooski if I'm Andy Reid, especially with the top of the 2nd-round pick. But mostly a scene like this is all aboard, baby. All aboard the Mayflower. I mean, it's Drake May's time. I mean, we talk about, what team could possibly be the Commanders of the past season, the Texans of 2022. I think, at least in my camp, in the Patriots fans that I know, especially with having that 4th overall pick, it feels like the Patriots really can be that team. We pull up their schedule, and I'm a biased Patriots fan. Sometimes I'm biased, but you pull up the Patriots schedule, I think it's hard not to say, hey, there are 9 legitimate wins, possibly 10, possibly 11. Well, look, we might screw around and win 11 games, and I'm not saying we're going to.
Why not? Perfect season.
Hey, that's always
good.
There's always
Why not?
Start one game at a time, but look, that's possible, and I think the hopes are very high, and especially now, even though it is smokescreen season, it does feel like with Mike Vrabel, with the teams that have rebuilt kind of quickly. You could look at the Lions, per se. Will Campbell at 4 feels very possible. Get that O-line shirt up for Drake.
Everybody loves beefing up the offensive line in the football world. Not necessarily the most sexy pick whenever it comes from a fan's perspective or media perspective, but you get a great offensive lineman, that is worth it in spades. Over-under total wins for the Patriots, 7.5 this year.
Hammer it.
You just said 9, 10, maybe even 11. Boston Connor, a New England Patriot fan. But I'll tell you, after watching Drake May through certain things and then hearing the shit we hear about behind the scenes and then knowing what we know about Vrabel, who's able to win games. He became the number 1 seed in the AFC with the most amount of guys heading to the IR. You're talking about guys getting dropped on their team on Thursdays in very important positions and them somehow winning. Tannehill at quarterback, Derrick Henry at running back. You do recall these times. Vrabel wins. Seemingly.
Yes.
That is kind of our thought. Now that he has a quarterback, franchise guy, and an ability to compensate people up in New England, maybe it is the time for the Patriots to be back. And maybe it is because the Mayflower's delivering it all.
I just wanted to add a quick little tidbit because I saw this going around the internet a bit. Does this mean that the Cowboys are looking to trade Dak? Looked into it. Spotrac put out a tweet. Dak actually has more dead cap than Deshaun Watson if you were to try to get rid of Deshaun Watson. Dak has, if you were to trade him before June 1st, $148.3 million in dead cap this year. Post June 1st, $50.9 this year and $97.4 next year. He also has a no-trade clause. So.
Okay, so he's probably not getting traded.
Probably not.
There was a little bit of buzz there around the internet. And once again, we did not create this. We're just telling you what was happening on the internet.
Fair.
Yeah. Topical show.
It's fodder.
Yep. Sometimes good.
Observe, report.
Yep. Good movie.
Never take anything as truth.
All right. Okay. I mean, you never know. With that being said,
Talking about Giants.
people are talking about Dak to the Browns or something like that.
Yeah.
And that was a funny little narrative going around the internet, just as somebody that gets a chance to just check things out. And it's as somebody that lives on the internet and follows along with basically everything happening on the internet at all times. The thought of the Browns having to pay, $700 million, that's quarterback position, was a funny thought. But I think that's because people were thinking, like, the Browns are going to have to do something. What are they going to do? They should figure it out. Joining us now, ladies and gentlemen, is a man who was a quarterback in the NFL for a long, long time. Then he took his talents to ESPN, where he has been the face of quarterback guruism and NFL play as a whole, basically on every show, including ours. Ladies and gentlemen, friend of the program, father of Madden, Dahn Orlovsky.
Yeah.
How you doing, Daniel?
I'm doing great. How are you guys? What's going on?
Just want to let you know I led the show with what happened yesterday with Madden in the NFL Live studio. And I want to let you know I was getting teared up talking about it. When I watched it yesterday, I got teared up. I couldn't even fathom how magical of a moment this was for you, for him, for the whole family, legitimately.
Yeah. No, thank you, man. It's been like an incredible 24 hours. Obviously, so many tears cried, but like tears of just nothing but awesome and good and celebration. You know, like to give people a little bit of background of how it all came together. I'll speak on Madden just a little bit. So, Madden's a triplet. When my wife was pregnant, it was one of those situations where, you know, we were kind of advised like, hey, this one, you can get rid of this one if you want, type of thing, and it might be a little bit easier, and that was never on the table for us. And so we kind of knew when Madden was born, like, hey, there might be something, type of thing. And then Madden has always been fascinated with animation, always. I remember him being like a little baby, watching Mickey Mouse Clubhouse and just literally thinking Mickey was real. Like Mickey Mouse, the animation of it was real. And so that's always been his thing. It's always been something that he's been gravitated towards. It's just drawing and creative and animation. And so, you know, those images that people saw yesterday, those are some of those could be 5, 6, 7 years old. He didn't even know what we had picked. We just have boxes and boxes of them at home. Madden got diagnosed with autism probably around the age of 2 or 3. It's scary at first because there's a lot of unknown and there's probably a lot of negative attached to it. And I don't want to pretend that it's not real scary. It is. But, you know, like yesterday, I remember going home to my wife and just telling her like, yo, like that was unbelievable. And it doesn't happen without you. Like my wife has taken him to countless speech therapists, occupational therapists, behavior therapists, the school system that has just kind of been, you know, the saying like it takes a village, like that was kind of the representation of it yesterday. And, you know, it wasn't my idea. Our director, Tim Farrell, came to me like 10 months ago with the idea. It's April 2nd, Autism Awareness Day. I know your son loves to draw. What do you do? And I'm like, absolutely. So I didn't know exactly how he would respond. You know, like walking into the studio was a total blind reveal. It was awesome, man. Pat, like, I said this at the end of the show, like I'm a sports person. I only like sports. Like that's the only thing in the world I've ever loved. So like when my kids do well in sports, I'm the happiest person in the world because that's all I like. Madden, that's not his thing. And so like to watch him have his thing and to swell up with pride that he has his thing, like it was so surreal and special and emotional and it was cool, man. It was really, really, really cool.
Yeah, it was amazing for all of us to watch, you know, legitimately, especially now that I have a daughter and, you know, you feel different ways about the world whenever you have a child. But for you saying the only thing you like is sports, the only thing you're in is sports, so whenever your kids succeed in sports, you're happy. I bet you there was a moment, too, where you were, like, so pumped that you could provide something for Madden that he was also interested in. So I want to let you know that's good parenting, cool parenting by you and the wife. And that was a magical moment we were lucky to spend with the Orlovskys. Legitimately, it was so cool. That was a cool thing, and I hope Madden, Madden continues down that path, by the way, because animation's a good gig, especially in the world that we are currently in. So congrats to your whole family having that moment, and shout out to Tim. You said the director of NFL.
Tim Farrell is Tim Farrell is the director. Like all you know, again, an unbelievably incredible moment. If that doesn't win some kind of award, or he doesn't win some kind of award, because this was like, again, not only his idea, it was his execution as well. Because I didn't know like if they would just throw up one drawing at a time type of thing, but like to have all of them as the splattered background was his and kind of the crew's idea. And yeah, dude, it was amazing, man. Like
the run around, you, like, the run behind the main screen there was that was like he was, you know, like that was really. I'm getting choked up thinking about it even more. Congrats, it's so cool, so cool, so cool. Thanks, I don't want to cry this entire time. I have questions that I'd like to ask you, okay? But that was awesome. Just know that was amazing, and we all celebrated alongside you and your family. Now, with that being said, speaking of families, Deion Sanders' child, Shedeur Sanders. We know he has the traits of greatness because we've seen his father obviously become one of the greatest athletes of all time and argument greatest athlete of all time. Shedeur Sanders' pro day is tomorrow, and you are traveling. I understand that right now, so we appreciate you taking time in the back of the car. And if your service isn't fantastic, we're completely okay with that. With Shedeur, what do you think needs to happen at the pro day? What are you looking for at the pro day? And what's really the conversation in your eyes around Shedeur Sanders?
I think the number one thing that I would want to see at the pro day is the ball jump off his hand a little bit. I would tell you this. I think Shedeur, for me, is the hardest evaluation I've had at that position since I got into TV. Reasoning is this. When you're taking a guy in that top 5, top 7 position, you want traits that are uncoachable, physical traits that are uncoachable. And there's not a ton in Shedeur's game that looks physically uncoachable. Now, that doesn't mean he doesn't have a lot that's awesome. The reason why I say it's such a tough evaluation is I don't know if this number is real or not, but I would tell you half of his throws are at or behind the line of scrimmage. That's just the nature of what they had to do at Colorado, like screens and RPOs, half of them. So you take half of those throws and throw them out because they don't matter. Anybody in the world can do that. And then you take a quarter of his throws and you throw them out because the pass protection in the offensive line is so bad. It's so bad. You're like, I don't care if it's Lamar or Josh, Patrick. No one is doing anything behind the line. So then you're like, you get a quarter of his passes that you feel like you can evaluate. And when you see that he has some time of timing, like those throws, the timing, the rhythm, the ball placement, when he's in a clean pocket, when he can manipulate somewhat, he's really impressive. He does that really, really, really well. But then you watch tape and you're like, nah, he's running for his life, can't throw that out. Or, man, he's only throwing the ball to Travis Hunter. Like, that throw's sensational. That read, that throw's sensational. But sometimes he only looks to throw to Travis Hunter. So you're like, all right, I can't knock him for that. But are you only locking on Travis? Sometimes he just catches the ball and it's like, all right, I'm just going to run. I'm just going to look for where I can move in the pocket and run. And part of you understands that because the pass protection is so bad. But I think one of the things that consistently I would write down is I want the ball to jump off his hand. I want him to drive the football. I want him to absolutely, like, there's 18 yards. It's in between a safety and a corner. You need to throw an absolute piss missile right now. And he doesn't have a ton of that. And so, like, at the pro day, I would want to see him step into some and just freaking drive them and going, all right, like, this is a part of my game that I'm capable of.
So interesting, because if you drop Shedeur, and I don't want to say this to Will Howard because I like Will Howard, you put Shedeur on that Ohio State team, or you put Shedeur on, like, Georgia, or you put Shedeur on Alabama, or you put Shedeur on Ole Miss, or you put Shedeur on any of these teams that, you know, him, his dad, and his crew had to build They had to build, at 2 schools. They had to build and create. So there's going to be some holes, obviously. Now, granted, they have a lot of talent and skill, but the offensive line at 1 year and then next year and everything like that. So I could see why you would say it'd be a hard read, because it's like the guy seemingly makes plays. The guy was able to rebuild 2 different programs. The guy has the it factor. He's used to the spotlight. But it's like, will he be a guy that'll be able to adjust to an NFL game? I think yes, just strictly because of the relationship. But I could see how NFL teams and you are like, we don't really know because you can always play the game if this person was on this team, what would happen? But you don't actually get to see it though, So then it's like, is he making the right decisions in those moments? Because some of the decisions that he's making are out of desperation. Like you say, he's running for his life.
Yes.
Fascinating on what it is.
Yeah, and I would tell you, a guy that I've comped him to is Tua. And so you mentioned the Alabama. If you put him on there, I don't think he's got as much anticipation as Tua. Tua has, one of one anticipation. But there's nothing about Tua's game that physically is like, oh my goodness, outside of the things that matter, the ball placement, the in rhythm, the layering of throws. I say this all the time. Shedeur consistently makes the right throw, not making every throw. He's not going to wow you athletically. I do know this. He's tough as nails.
Yes.
I do know that. This dude is tough. I think he's really smart. I think he's probably mentally very tough as well because of the upbringing, because of the pressure, because of the spotlight. I think with Shedeur, like, you just want to sit there and watch some tape with him because he doesn't get fooled by coverage often. The ball goes to the right place consistently. But there are stuff you're going, why are you holding that football? Like, why are you holding it? And if he says, listen, man, it's 2nd and 8, we're down 28-7 in the first quarter, I can buy that. Like, I can buy that. So I just think there's a lot of variables around him that were so bad that you want to have those combos.
I can't wait to see how it all unfolds. You know, number 2 is the big conversation. What are the Browns going to do? Ty has a question for you.
Yeah, Dan, so given all that, obviously Shador's been linked to the Browns, and we know right now their quarterback situation is kind of just a mess. Maybe Joe Flacco, given his success with Kevin Stefanski, but do you think ultimately Kirk Cousins is going to be who the Browns turn to, and he's going to be the starting quarterback next year? Obviously, everything in there, nothing's really moved yet, but it seems like that's kind of the most logical choice.
Yeah, I do. I think the things that make sense to me are Kirk Cousins eventually will be with the Browns, and Aaron Rodgers is already going to the Steelers. I think with the Browns, if you look at it and you go, okay, well, Kenny Pickett, if Kirk Cousins becomes their starting quarterback and they add a player like Travis Hunter, if I were the Browns, I would take Travis Hunter at 2. If I was dead set on not taking a quarterback and I was getting Cousins, I got a chance now because this is still a talented roster, and Stefanski is still a very good coach. Travis Hunter would play wide receiver for me, but I think Kirk Cousins never seemed settled last year. We called his games on Monday Night Football. He never seemed comfortable. It never seemed like the right offensive fit, although I thought it would be perfect. Zach Robinson, the offensive coordinator at Atlanta, he didn't run the similar stuff that Kirk was, accustomed to. And if we're going to talk about like Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams in the play action and how Caleb hasn't done any play action, so that's going to take time. Kirk's only done play action. And so it didn't mesh for him in Atlanta because they just didn't run it. And so I think if Cleveland gets Kirk Cousins and drafts Travis Hunter at 2, I think they immediately become a competitive football team. And I would bank on that being the case.
Okay, and a lot of people are saying that around the Browns. To clarify one stat that you made, you said, I don't know if this is a real number, but it appears from watching the film, it's like 50%, 34% of Shador's throws are at or behind the line of scrimmage, let alone what is within 2-3 yards of down the
Exactly,
field.
yeah.
So your stat, that was from Hembo. Hembo literally just texted that in.
Hembo.
Yeah, Hembo just texted that in because he was watching. Shout out to Hembo. And he said,
hey, Hembo, how many of his passes are thrown like inside of 5 yards of the line of scrimmage? Get that to us.
I assume we'll get a text here from Hembo in a matter of moments. But the reason why he sent that in, because there for a little bit, it was like Browns are going to take quarterback. That means they're going to take Shador is what everybody thought. So then as you start thinking about, well, is Shador going to be the number 2 overall pick? You say maybe Travis Hunter. They're saying maybe Abdul Carter, team him up with Myles Garrett, especially if you're able to bring in a Kirk Cousins. So now you got a veteran quarterback and you got 2 pass rushers that should seemingly be able to win games for you. If they were to take Shador Sanders.
Take Travis Hunter, man, and play him at wide receiver.
What about a package on the defensive side? No?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. And I don't want to be disrespectful to anybody. It's like you play him at DB. But here's what I do know. Defensive back, and I want to respect all the DBs. Dude, you go cover that guy. Like, hey, we're in man coverage. Go cover that human being. So it's like, just go cover him. It's these elite athletes. Jalen Ramsey, go cover him. And so, hey, cover 2, you're playing the flat. Or cover 3, you got deep third. So I think you could build a package for Travis in certain situational pass-centric moments where you could give him some coverages that he should feel comfortable to. But like the reason I look at it and say play wide receiver is, one, as an offense, I could take a defensive back that's really good and take him out of the game. I can formation him. I can motion. I can minimize his impact on the game, especially if he doesn't have an elite corner opposite him. The second thing is, as an offense, I can always manufacture touches for guys. You mean to tell me that you watch this guy play wide receiver and you watch his ball skills and you don't want to force the ball to him 10 times a game? I mean, he's got clips that I'm like, oh, this looks like Randy Moss. This looks like Justin Jefferson with the ball in his hands. Dude, his strides are ridiculously long. So as an offense, I'm like, I can force the ball to him 10, 12 times a game, and I know it's going to happen. I could take a defensive back out of the game. Like, imagine if you're Baltimore. You're going to throw the ball to him?
This one.
No, you're just going to force that. Dude, Patty's got like 10 of those.
yeah, that one was at the beginning of the season. It was like, this guy is unbelievable. And you mentioned earlier when you were talking about Shador forced it to 12 a lot. It's like there might be a reason. Yeah. It might be
exactly
what you're chatting about. But yeah, that's a good point about if he's a DB, you can kind of keep him out of the game. You can just keep him away from it. They used to do it to Revis. That's why a lot of the corners don't have as many like stats, because the offense just goes, okay, well, we're not going to throw anywhere near said guy. And if a quarterback tries to throw it towards guy and gets picked, they're walking to the sideline, and every coach is saying, hey, we just don't go near that guy.
What are you doing?
Like that is the sign.
We did that with Revis. We did that with Sherman. We would go into the game and be like, you're not throwing to him. Namdi Asamoah, don't throw the ball to his side. Don't care what the coverage is. You're not looking over there.
Asante Samuel. Obviously.
Patrick Peterson, yep.
Yeah, okay, good. I'm happy to hear you just went along with that. Let's make sure we put a little respect on Asante Samuel on this. But you're right. I appreciate that narrative, actually. It's like we want this guy to have the ball in his hands, right? Is that not what we want? So let's get him on offense, and if we need him to go lock somebody down on defense, we can certainly do that. Congrats to Travis Hunter, by the way.
Yeah.
Basically, everybody's saying the same thing about him, and he hasn't been in the NFL yet. And all they say is the dude loves ball. He's locked in. He'll stream every once in a while. But other than that, he doesn't drink, doesn't smoke, doesn't do anything. He's like the perfect football player going forward.
Yeah.
And we're lucky that you're in our sport, brother. Legit. Let's get back to the quarterbacks conversation. Tone has a question for you.
Yeah, Dan, we've talked about it on here. You are a big fan of Jackson Dart and his game, and you've talked about him going in the
Hold on, please. 907 total attempts at Colorado by Shedeur Sanders. 500 of them were within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage, which is 55%. Dano!
Okay, Dan.
Guy watches the film.
Yeah.
Guy watches the film. Shout out to Hembo, by the way, for being that
Shout out
quick.
to Hembo.
Now, let's get back to the conversation Tone was trying to start.
But yeah, you like Jackson Dart out of Miss. You've talked about him going in the first round. I want to know, because everyone talks about the gap from Cam Ward to Shedeur and then Jackson or whatever, and then the rest of the guys. Is the gap from Jackson Dart to the rest of the guys big enough where like you would rather take Jackson Dart in the first rather than taking, I don't know, Ewers, Howard, Shuck, Milroe in like the third? Do you think Jackson Dart is leaps and bounds better than those other guys?
I do. I think Jackson Dart is closer to 2 than he is to 4, 5, or 6 in the quarterback ranking for me this year. There's so much about this young man's tape that I love. Like I'm sitting here, Tone, and I got all the things that I like about his tape. Every game you study, you like him more and more. For me personally, every game, it was like, oh, I like that. And as it went on, you're like, I liked him more and more. He makes some big-time wow athletic throws where, like, athletically, he makes some really challenging throws. He gets through progressions as good, if not better, than anybody in the class. The downside, the knock on that, I would tell you is this. Ole Miss ran, like, the same 6 concepts a lot. That being said, he operates them flawlessly, and that being said, so did Jaden Daniels at LSU. So, like, I don't use that as a knock to him. I think he's a bull when he runs the ball. He reminds me of Jalen Hurts when he runs the football a little bit, just a big physical bull. There's not a lot of easy in his offense. There's not a lot of dink and dunk in his offense. They're throwing the ball downfield, high risk, high reward, very challenging type of throws. I don't think he's reliant on his legs. I think he uses his legs when he has to rather than when he wants to or when he's confused. And he drives the ball into windows. Here's the stuff that I would tell you about Dart that, like, maybe would scare people. I don't want to use the word scare, but make them study more. His feet have a little Drake May to him last year. Like, where you're like, hey, dude, stop being so sloppy with your feet. A little bit laziness or boredom. But you work on that, obviously, like Drake May did. And I've said this before. The Florida game and the way it ended has to be the conversation. If I was going to spend one sit down with Dart, I would put on the end of the Florida game and be like, talk to me about what happened. Because in the Florida game, he's awesome. Like, that post throw is awesome. He's awesome in it. And then his last 2 possessions, you're like, what the heck just happened? And I would want to know from him what happened in the game. What happened? Tell me what happened to make you look like a completely different player. But I think he's going to be an awesome pro.
Yeah, him running is fantastic. That is, and to be clear, I don't think we paid enough respect to Jackson Dart at the beginning of this draft process. The more highlights we see, it's like, that looks like a Sunday guy. Mm-hmm. And then I get a text from Hembo.
Yes.
Hembo, actively watching right now.
Thank you, Hembo.
He said, hey, remember this. There's a lot to dream on with Jackson Dart. Wins downfield, 1,934 yards and 25 touchdowns targeting verts, corners, posts in 2024. Both of those are the most in FBS. He decimates man coverage. 12 yards an attempt versus man coverage in 2024, which is the highest in all of FBS. And then he creates out of chaos, says Hembo. 18 explosive runs, 10-plus yards or more on scrambles in 2024, which is the most among P4 programs. So you're talking about Jackson Dart having the most in that Lane Kiffin offense, which is obviously very explosive, but you have to be able to handle it all. And you talk about that Florida game at the end. I think he took some big shots in that game potentially. Yeah. And then also, don't you?
There is some. I don't want to get myself in trouble here.
Not a doctor. Don't do a doctor. Don't do the doctor thing. But we're all saying the same thing. There's some shots where it's like,
is he all there?
Yeah. What is?
Guys still playing?
Yeah.
Like Will Howard in the Michigan game.
Bingo. Mm-hmm. Exactly like the Will Howard in the Michigan game. And I think in college there's a little bit different with the unaffiliated neuro, whatever it is. And we're not. Once again, we're not doctors, so we're not doing this entire thing. But as football watchers, you see something happen, and then you go, he looks a little different after that. And then before that.
Yep.
So that could be a conversation piece. Now, highest Scouts Inc. draft grade of the quarterbacks in the 2024 and 2025 class. This is from Hembo. Caleb Williams got a 97. Oh. Jaden Daniels got a 94. Drake May got a 93.
Come on.
J.J. McCarthy got a 92. Cam Ward got a 92. Shador Sanders got a 90. Jackson Dart got an 88. Okay. Bo Nix got an 87. Tyler Shuck of Louisville, 87. Michael Penix Jr., 85.
Damn.
So what Hembo's saying is like the Scouts Inc. draft grade of Jackson Dart is like guy. Like they're saying he's a guy. And also this draft class at the quarterback position might not be as low as everybody is saying it is in the end. Is that what you heard there, Dano?
Yeah. That's kind of how I've felt about the class. It's not as bad as kind of people have painted it out to be. I'm a Jackson Dart guy. Like I would seriously, I don't think he makes it outside the top 10. If I were the Raiders, if I were the Jets, if I were the Saints, I would be very seriously considering drafting him in the top 10. Dude, at the end of the day, can you see it and can you throw it at that position? He sees it well and he can throw it. Do you panic with the football in times of panic? Because that's the reality of that position in the league. He doesn't. Sometimes he gets it out. Sometimes just because of the athleticism, he gets himself out of bad or goes and creates good. I think the fact that he's been stressed so much to make challenging throws down the field has given him like this confidence of like, I can go make some big time throws. And so for me, dude, he's the one guy in the class. I've said Cam is the number one player for me or pick at the quarterback spot. Jackson Dart would be neck and neck with Shador for me.
Okay, very fascinating of it all, especially how this draft class will be viewed 5 years from now as opposed to what it was viewed at the beginning of this draft cycle. Last question. We know you're very busy. We appreciate you, from Connor.
Yeah, Dan, you mentioned there the Raiders looking at Jackson Dart, and I believe every single mock draft has Ashton Ginty going there. Spy Tech came out and said his son was going to basically leave the family if they don't take Ashton Ginty, but it sounds like you think kind of what Brady has been saying a lot too. Tom has come out and said, the most important thing for a young quarterback is, being able to sit behind a guy, learn what to do. Obviously, Tom is going to help in that process. Do you think the Raiders will take Shador or Jackson Dart at 6 if they're still there? And do you even see them possibly trading up or another team trading up, like the Saints you just mentioned, to get either of those guys in the top 5, top 6?
Yeah. I don't see the Raiders getting overly aggressive. The head coach won a Super Bowl with a 3rd-round pick, and the guy that's in the front office, his greatest of all time is a 6th-round pick, and the general manager came from Tampa Bay, where they just watched a cast-off in Baker Mayfield revitalize his career. I think of Pete Carroll and I go, Legion of Boom, unbelievable defensive line. I think that the defensive line prospects in this draft that people consistently talk about are probably a little bit more at play for the Raiders. And so I don't think they get overly aggressive with the draft. We'll see if Geno gets that extension. That being said, I just raved about Jackson Dart. And if you're the Raiders and you think that he's a 1st-round guy, I don't mind being aggressive. My gut tells me because of the people, the decision makers in their past, they won't.
All right, Dano, we appreciate the hell out of you, man, for joining us. Good luck today. We know you got a big day. Today.
I appreciate you, boys. I appreciate you, Pat. Thanks for your words, man. Very kind. You're a good friend.
Put a smile on that face. We're wheeling dealing today. Mm-hmm. Okay, Dano? Yesterday was for the family. Yesterday was a good day for the family. Today, hey, how you doing?
We got business to handle.
That's right. For not only now, but for your future and for your family's future. So it's worth it. Ladies and gentlemen,
amen.
The legend, Dan Orlovsky.
Thank you.
A lot of good chat there. He likes Jackson Dart.
He does.
Yeah, loves him.
This is one of those things during the draft process where people watch more film, and they learn more about people. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you hear people go, hey, did we know? Basically. And then because you can't dive into everybody's film. College football season's so long, and there's so many people. The only reason why I am saying that the way I'm saying that is because for College Game Day, it's a lot of things. It's a lot of things. Okay? Friday nights are a lot of things. Trying to, oh yeah, I remember. Oh yeah, learn about this. Hey, new coach here, back up this here, back up. So it's a lot. So I think a lot of people that are in the draft world or maybe even the high levels of the scouting of teams, they can't pay attention to everybody throughout the entire season. So that's why this particular part of the calendar is meant for like learning. And that's when you start seeing the dark horses start coming through the draft. And it's like, holy shit, did we know? And Ole Miss not making the playoffs. I think that is
you forget about him.
Shador was on prime time every week because they were must-watch ratings moving. Cam Ward in Miami ended up being in the news cycle every single week because of some magical win, some miracle win. They were on this run. They're saving the U. Here we go. It's like Jackson Dart and Ole Miss obviously got attention because Ole Miss is in the SEC, but not as much as everybody else. So I think he's kind of went under the radar in this entire thing, and he's in the SEC at Ole Miss, which kind of goes against the SEC ESPN characterization. Go ahead, buddy.
Remember, Kiffin came out and kind of came at the SEC for saying Ole Miss never has any night games, saying giving all the night games to Bama and Georgia and LSU, and now those schools have earned those over the years, but over the last couple of years, Kiffin, on Ole Miss has been very good. But no, even he said like, hey, we are never the primetime game in this conference.
Yeah, and they were an electrifying offense.
Yes, they were.
And Lane Kiffin is awesome.
Yeah.
So you would think that would become more, and they were in it for the 12-team playoff at the very end. Very pissed. Them, South Carolina, Bama. There are others, obviously, that thought they should get in over some teams, and it's like last year could have been the year where maybe they do get some primetime. They get into the playoffs, and Jackson does any of the shit that he did in any of these games, and you get 15 million people seeing it as opposed to 1 million people seeing it. It's like a very different combo, I think, personally.
Yeah, and right now, like when it comes to the draft, we're just talking about these four guys: Abdul Carter, Shador, Jackson Dart. Cam Ward kind of has left the conversation because he's locked in at one. But like, how many guys are going to get picked that are unbelievable? Like Jared Verse was the best defensive player. He won Defensive Rookie of the Year, and probably didn't touch on him once last season during the draft process. And then during the season when it actually mattered, he played well. And that's like Mason Graham right now. Like everyone's talking about him as the best interior D lineman, but leading up to the draft, we're not going to talk about him whatsoever just because of the main storylines at the top.
When we say it all the time, like it also is why like coaching and where you go in the draft matters quite a bit, because if he goes to one of the teams who sucks, then it's like does he just get swallowed up by that? But he goes to the Rams, McVay, and then he ends up having an unbelievable couple games down the stretch, and then everyone remembers the playoff games. Like he had his best games at that time. It's like if he doesn't get that opportunity, are we talking about him in the same way? Probably, because he's an unbelievable player. But like, if a guy like Jackson Dart goes to Cleveland, is that different than if he goes to like a Pittsburgh at 21 and he's making the playoffs in his first year?
Fascinating times for all these guys. Good luck to them all.
Good luck, everybody.
All for you guys. And we're just thinking about the draft spectacular once we get to pick 6 and we don't know any of the guys.
Bingo.
That's kind of a part of the draft process. That's kind of the part of the draft process.
Yeah, we got more because you know how close you work with college football.
Yeah, there's a lot of, this dude, and then immediately into the film, and then we chit-chat about the entire experience. Then we have 10 minutes.
Yep.
Until the next one.
At least like the teams up here are kind of spread out well. Like Patriots are at 4, Colts are at 14. Packers and the Steelers are in the 20s. Like, we do kind of have a nice little
vested interest.
Yeah.
Unless there's movement.
Whoa,
which could happen.
Yeah, a couple times.
That's why the draft is so spectacular, because you never know what you're going to get.
Bingo.
More conversation from Katie Blackburn. Chief. I forget she is the
VP.
COO?
The EVP of the Cincinnati Bengals. Okay, I forget which. Oh, not even in the C-suite there. That is interesting. EVP. She's running the Cincinnati Bengals. Obviously, she was in the news because of the Trey Hendrickson comment where she said at some point he's got to be happy with what we offered him. And, that came out on April Fool's. We talked to Trey Hendrickson about it. He didn't expect it. I assume Katie Blackburn on the backside was, that's not what there's a feeling about negotiations where like both sides have to be happy. Like that's what I was referring to. Whatever the case, seemingly did not fare well in the crowd with that particular statement. Then something else came out through Pro Football Talk's Mike Florio, where, he reported about a quote from Kelsey Conway and Katie Blackburn. Kelsey Conway reporting it like, oh, maybe the Bengals aren't in Paycor Stadium anymore because they have to give a 1-year heads up to Hamilton County, which is obviously the county that Cincinnati is within and owns the stadium there. They have to give them a 1-year head up that they would like a 2-year extension on the lease that they currently have. And in that conversation, which was a great question, by the way, and I don't think any of us even knew this was potentially coming up. Nope. So I appreciate the journalism and all. She said at one point, we could, I guess, go wherever we wanted after this year if we didn't pick up the option, okay? And what the Cincinnati Bengals journalists are saying, that the way that reads versus the way it was actually said is not, like she basically was like, I guess we could go somewhere else. And then she also basically alluded to, like, when that decision comes time, which is in June of this particular summer, like, we'll make the decision then. Like, we'll make that's when right now we're not focused on that, is kind of how she laid it out. But I think a lot of people were burying her for saying this. And if you listen to the people that were in the room where it happened, that was not the context at all. Although, this is high stakes here.
Oh, yeah.
Whenever you're talking about a team with a stadium, we've obviously seen these conversations happen in the past. Now, this would be the Bengals leasing Paycor Stadium from the county that Cincinnati is in for another 2 years. They have 5 options, a 2-year extension, so that'd be another 10 years. They have to give a year heads up in that whole thing. So they're doing business with the county. Are they renting it? Are they leasing it for 13 times a year for preseason games, regular season games, then potential playoff games if they were to take place at home? And then do they rent it out to, concerts and everything? I don't know how the business goes because we didn't get all the information. We don't have the contract that it has. But anytime a team says, maybe we do have some freedom on the stadium. Happened in Minnesota, they were going to move. Minnesota was going to move out of town because they weren't able to round up a new stadium. This would not be for a new stadium, but I think it would be for a new deal with the people that own the stadium, because she even alludes, we would like it to be best for both of us here. So she's using this as leverage, I assume, which all teams will do with their stadium. And then the city is probably just waiting, to see what you do. And I don't think this is a raised taxes situation because they don't need to build a new stadium, but it's certainly something that needs to get figured out. And I remember there was a time before I got here in Indianapolis, RCA Dome was the Colts stadium. And allegedly the story goes, because Jim Irsay has a house in Los Angeles, he was in LA and he was in a helicopter and he was flying either to his house or from his house. And then somebody, leaked back to Indianapolis that Jim Irsay was in a helicopter in Los Angeles. And that was always the city that was kind of getting dangled over all these other stadiums and cities' heads. Like, hey, we'll pick up and go to Los Angeles. You don't want to give us a new stadium. We'll pick up and leave. I don't think Jim was even looking for stadium sites. I think Jim was literally just going to his house in Los Angeles. But then it got reported that he was looking in LA. And then all of a sudden there's a vote. And all of a sudden Lucas Oil Stadium is kind of built. And the city owns it. The Colts pay a lease each year. So they don't get to have all the money for all the other events that take place. But it's like, this is very normal for NFL teams to do. Happened in St. Louis, obviously, so much so that they got up and left. Happened in San Diego. They got up and left. Both of them went to Los Angeles. People talk about San Antonio wants a team. Like, every time a team needs something, they will certainly find a location that could, hey, these people would love these people would love it over here. I don't think that's what's happening here, though. And that's kind of how it was being talked about. I don't think that is the case here in Cincinnati.
Yeah, no, it absolutely reads like that's what she was hinting at, like suggesting, hey, if we don't get something done, like relocation is a possibility. And I don't think, if you look into it a little bit more, and obviously like how important the Bengals are to Cincinnati and everything, but this also seems like a situation like you said, she's got a lot of other stuff on her plate right now in terms of like the Trey Hendrickson stuff and everything. So a decision on this doesn't need to be made till next year. But you would also think like there's no way the city wants to bungle this either. Exactly. I didn't even try to do that, but they want this to get done as well. I mean the situation where it's at in Cincinnati in between the two stadiums with like all the bars right there, like what it does for the local economy on game days and everything. Like they want to make sure this gets done too. And I think anyone who jumped to the conclusion like, oh man, they might be relocating, like obviously like that is not going to happen.
I don't think it helped coming off the heels of yesterday.
Well, Trey Hendrickson. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like the Trey Hendrickson thing, I believe that that was a dumb. Listen, you're running an NFL team. There's a lot. Okay, every word is scrutinized. Billions of dollars at play, hundreds of millions at play. There's a lot. I think alluding to somebody who's the sack king all-pro, a guy that doesn't get a lot of respect outside of a building, kind of speaking in a way lacking respect inside the building. Don't know if that's the best way to get things done. And Trey Hendrickson obviously was like, what the hell? We haven't even talked in a couple months, basically. So I think that was certainly a mistake, and I assume she would say the same thing. This whole, I guess we could go somewhere else, I don't think that was vindictive at all. I think it was just like her speaking as a matter of fact. Like, I guess we could go somewhere else, but she was just answering a question.
Yeah, like the Trey thing, you can read it, and no matter what the tone was, the words themselves were absurd. And then with the stadium entire situation, that is one where, like, holy shit, look at the headline, and then you read the entire transcript, even without the question that was asked, just her words. It's like, oh, okay. So the headline kind of takes it out of
what?
The headline, in fact,
you're saying headlines may be a little misleading.
Yeah, there's a chance that it was negative here because when I did read it, I did read it as like, I guess we went to the moon. You know, it was one of those.
All right,
that's how I read it.
We don't need to get into that.
That's how I read it.
I just heard Gumpy drop in last night. Obviously, massive MLS game for the CONCAFA quarterfinal. LAFC taking on Inter Miami and Lionel Messi. That game kicked off at 2 a.m.
11:30.
Okay, might as well have been, especially after the tornado night that it was. Who ended up winning that game? What happened?
Well, you see, after they took away Messi's bodyguard, some guy slapped the guy and kicked him in the leg and got a yellow card for LAFC. Should have been a red. No, a player. Should have been a red card. What happened? This guy who did this goes on to score the game-winning goal. Inter Miami loses their first game without Messi's bodyguard by the side.
He says all good, yeah. Is that a yellow or a red? Yellow pops up, warranted, he says. Then he goes and wins the game. So they're going to do an aggregate thing here?
Second leg next week back at Inter Miami. Inter Miami's first loss of the season.
What time is that game going to kick off?
Miami probably be around 8.
Midnight?
No.
Okay.
Shout out to the CONCAFA pod available today if you want to get into the soccer. Remember, World Cup's coming to America here in a couple years. We might as well get some information. Gumpy, Jeff Cameron, Breck Shea, great crew. Good group of lads. The CONCAFA pod, a soccer conversation, is great. MLS banning that. I mean,
it's a big Dom situation. Inter Miami didn't lose all year. Now they take away the bodyguard. Now they lose.
I mean, why would you here's a picture of the guy. I don't know why you'd want him not protecting the boys on the pitch.
Yeah.
You know, especially with his ability to follow and track the game, do it all. Have the MLS said anything about this? Like,
not a damn thing. People are trying to say Inter Miami did it, but it was a change in the rules, so nobody had any choice. Why they changed the rules, I still can't figure out.
Well, listen, there's a change of direction of the league whenever one guy came, so maybe you change the rules for one particular person, everybody else can eat shit. Yeah, everybody else, you can't have your bodyguard on the side. But you know who can? That one. The one that's the Balloon d'Or winner.
Make him assistant coach for all I care.
Yeah. Like we did with you.
Yeah, legit.
So you could go chew out the refs and,
I'm
and
there.
get a couple yellow cards.
There.
So Tony Muola doesn't have to do it. Yeah, I respect it. A lot of stuff happening around sports world, including in baseball. Huge night last night. We'll talk about that in the next hour. We'll talk about the NHL. We'll talk more NFL. We'll have Karl Ravech join us. Yeah. And then from the Bob Carpenter Show, we'll have AJ Hawk joining us.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm very excited for it all. And we can't thank you enough for allowing us to do this for a living. Be a friend, tell a friend something nice. It might change their life. We'll see you on the other side.
It's impossible to be at the top at both of those, essentially. Like, it's
Dan. Another farting Dan Orlovsky situation just took place.
Danny dumps. What do you mean? It's unbelievable.
Your butt was just talking, okay?
I did not fart.
Dan. This is 2 times now, Dan. This is the Orlovsky thing.
You guys being serious right now, or are you messing with me?
Dan, listen to this clip. This is you just moments ago.
It's impossible to be at the top at both of those, essentially. Like, it's
Dan.
I mean, undeniable. You guys definitely just freaking idiots.
Dan, we swear.
You guys 1,000%.
No, we swear. We swear.
No way.
So no one did that, Dan. What did you eat?
I haven't even ate two guys.
Hey, if I were you right now, I'd go grab some food.
My wife texted me. She said, "Oh my gosh, McAfee Show, I'm dead." I go, "Babe, I promise you on everything I did not fart."
Who runs your Twitter account?
AB.
I do.
was this all about? I would like to know, in that situation where your butthole started talking, what did I do?
I can't even be serious with you, man.
What are you, chucking a glass of milk, eating some fruit over there, get you some coffee, get that butthole a little bit more active?
I haven't ate. I'm eating yogurt. I have 1,000 text messages right now of people going, oh my gosh. I'm like, I just wanted to have like a quiet Tuesday.
I don't even know why we're going to have another hour. Maybe we run that clip.
Yeah. On loop.
We have the video. Shams, let's let you judge here.
It's impossible to be at the top at both of those, essentially. Like, it's...
I need to hear the context. I want to give our guy...
Oh, Shams, shut up! He said it sounded like a fart.
What did AJ vote?
It's a fart all day long, Kirk. You know that.
Has anybody voted no?
Dan.
I'll be the captain of Team No today.
We need you to do a tie-breaking vote. Is that okay?
Sounds good to me.
It's impossible to be at the top at both of those, essentially. Like, it's...
There's no doubt. I mean, I like how he just kept on going right there.
When he was talking, he didn't even break stride as that thing came out. He went and got the buggy, went to the store, grabbed some dude wipes to wipe those ass cheeks, just like I assume you do as well, Cabal.
You have to go dry, wet, dry. Toilet paper, white toilet paper. If not, you're really risking the rest of the day having the swamp ass. You know, Dan Orlovsky, man, he got to accept that, man. He got to wear that with a pride. One thing that really bothers me when people do not take credit for it. You know, if somebody says, oh, that was you that farted, I get upset when it wasn't me. I'm like, no, when have I ever not claimed it when it was mine? You should claim it.
But all those airports, people are traveling today, looking up at the ESPN, Dan Orlovsky farts. What's wrong with this guy?
The closed captioning person, whoever it is, they got it. I believe it said inaudible, muffled, and it said Dan farts.
The following program is a collection of stooges talking about happenings in the sports world. It is meant to be comedic informative. The opinions expressed on this show do not necessarily reflect the beliefs of their peers, their boss, or ESPN. There may be some cuss words because that's how humans in the real world talk. If you are young, please seek permission before watching any further.
Hey, let's go.
This show stinks, and the fact that you listen, we are very, very thankful for it.
McAfee on the line with a gorgeous assist.
The all-time leading tackler for the Green Bay Packers.
You pig!
Damn it! Be a friend, tell a friend something nice could change their life. Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to our humble abode, the Thunderdome, on this Hell Yeah Thursday, April 3rd, 2025. Hour 2 of the program starts now. Hell yeah! Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Sports are the greatest. We're lucky we get to talk about them every single day. I just want to let you know, I just feel like now is a good time to tell you, I'm wearing purple shoes today.
And they're awesome.
Nice.
We're all Mustangs here.
Yeah, we are.
We're all Mustangs here.
Amen.
Another pair of bronze. And for everything LeBron did for us, obviously coming through, having a conversation. At least I could do is support his shoes. And I'll tell you what, these incredibly comfortable. They're sturdy, you know.
Best ones I've seen.
These ones, gray ones yesterday, not too bad. Had some white ones on the other day as well. They're all pretty thick, you know, like pretty durable, pretty sturdy. These ones are the most, I would say, comfy, but also they're purple. So not normally my go-to, but it's a soft purple, you see.
Right.
It's not like an in-your-face purple. It's just boom, a little bit of pizzazz here.
Lavender.
Yeah, it is a lavender, isn't it? I think you're onto something with these. The shoe designs being pretty spectacular.
Yeah, I love purple.
Some of his shoes too much.
Sure.
The colors. We're doing too much with the colors.
A lot of guys.
A lot of on-court stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Like, because you're trying to flash.
Not so much lifestyle.
Yeah, like every day can't wear them. You know, it's not A to B, but it is a Sunday cruiser. You know, like the ones that he has. But I'll tell you what, I've had like 5-6 pairs come in over the last week or so. They are a good shoe to feel on the feet, and I think I'm more athletic because of it. You know, now he's 6'9", 220 pounds. I'm 6'1", 260 pounds.
Sure.
So it's a little bit of a different animal, different breed, but these shoes can feed families if you need to. Talks and tables here at Boston Connor, at Ty Schmidt. One half of the Hammer, Dahn, Ball Cap Boys, AP Tone. Tone, what are we gambling on tonight? What have the Hammer Dahn boys been gambling on?
A lot of NBA, a lot of NHL, a lot of baseball. You mix in PGA Tour every sprinkle every once in a while. Bruce is doing, I believe, a deep dive into the tour to the Derby because, you know,
the race to the crown. Okay, it has a documentary coming out on
On Netflix, yes, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically where we are in the offseason now that football. Maybe we might try to find a specialist. One of you guys said you were going to special in UFL for gambling and come and win some.
UFL is happening. Obviously, we watched it this past weekend. I think those guys are smart for not holding out.
I'd say.
I think probably smart for not holding out. I think probably just try to make it profitable. You know, people hold out whenever they feel as if the ownership is making too much money and the players or the employees aren't making enough money. If ownership is losing money hand over fist, not the right time to do a holdout. Should be in the time of trying to build brand, try to make brand look good. So then you get to a point where owners are making money. Then now you get to a CBA. This is not me speaking because I know The Rock, and I don't even know how much hands-on The Rock is with the UFL at this moment with everything else he has going on. But anytime people, turn people away by saying, like, we're not doing this for this, it doesn't work out well. I mean, it was just a movie that just completely happened. There's another league that they're allegedly threatening to hold out, and it's like, you're not making any money. So it's hard to relate to humans that are at home that are like, you guys are complaining about getting the opportunity to do this when it's costing people. You're basically a foundation at this point as opposed to a business. And whenever you try to portray yourself as ungrateful for that, a lot of people automatically go, to hell with these people. So I'm happy the UFL folks got it figured out. I'm happy they had opening weekend this past weekend. I'm hoping that it does become a conversation piece. I saw Donald Laguerre make a kick. Congratulations to him. And UFL is happening. Yeah. I don't know if we should be gambling on that, though.
Why not?
I just don't know if that's... You might as well go to a gas station, get scratch on. Like if Jordan Te'amu's playing, you bet on that.
That's right. I understand where you're coming from, but there's a lot of UFL sharps out there.
Joining us now, ladies and gentlemen, we need to get the the ping pong. We had a good run on the ping pong in China. I believe it was Chinese ping pong.
Yeah.
We were waking up in the morning and we had Korean baseball. We had a little bit. If Gumpy could maybe turn his sights onto something that maybe the books aren't paying attention to, and we could all... ESPN Bet have Chinese ping pong on there?
I haven't been and checked on there. The Crown basketball tournament, though, we are killing it, though.
I was going to say, he kind of does that already with something people don't watch.
The NIT championships tonight, too, between Chattanooga and UC Irvine. Chattanooga's catching 3.5. They're going to win that thing outright.
Okay. Love it. All right. See, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
That's good off-season fodder right there.
Yep. Lakers Warriors at 10 o'clock, so maybe we won't see the entire game, but that will be a good thing to talk about tomorrow.
And then also Memphis Heat, right?
Yeah, at 7:30.
Playing tonight. Okay. Joining us now, ladies and gentlemen, is a college football national champion, a Super Bowl champion, a Ryder Cup winner, and co-host of the Bobby Carpenter Show. Ladies and gentlemen, AJ Hawk. How you doing, Hawk?
Not a co-host. That's Anthony Schlegel is his co-host. I just join Bobby every Wednesday.
Okay. At noon, I saw. It's fascinating time. I mean, all right. Okay. Okay. That's no problem at all. But I am excited that you're talking to the boys. One of the greatest linebacker rooms in the history of ball. Getting a chance to share some stories together is something we all will watch and obviously pay attention to. Shout out to the general. Shout out to Schlegs. Shout out to you. UFL football, obviously you watched. What is the big takeaway from your perspective on who's who this year in this particular UFL season?
First, I have a question because Tone said there's a lot of UFL sharps out there. Can you please name those people? Tone? That's pretty deep into it.
Sports Rage is dialed in on UFL, and I like defensive plays. So this team scores fast or they turn it over. So not a lot of defensive plays on this side. He gave some bets at Radio Row. It was like, how about tackles? How about tackles? This guy.
Total team tackles.
Yeah, he is. I think he is the UFL sharp, although I assume with something as unpredictable as the UFL would be, I assume there are some gamblers that think they could probably take advantage of the odds makers whenever it comes to UFL, if you're paying attention to it close enough. And I've seen UFL super fans out there. Yeah. I saw some people in the stands. Yeah. It's early in the season. Hopefully they are able to build something special because more football, the better. It's been hard for us to catch up with in the offseason.
No doubt.
I will say it has been difficult for us to pay attention to it. But good luck to all parties over there.
Good luck. Oh, yeah, UFL.
DC defenders, I know, problematic.
I mean, the Renegades are a formidable team if they're catching 10.
Yeah, I mean, 10.5.
Roughnecks.
Well, the Renegades have Marquette, their punter.
Yeah.
He's
the rapper.
He's become singer, rapper, artist, punter. Yeah, former NFL.
Oh, yeah.
Stud Marquette, who I think may be trying to get back. I don't know. I've been trying to follow along. He released a new song recently. I think he performed a song opening day, which is sweet, alongside Danny Garcia in the opening. But yeah, they're a team. They're a real dude.
Yeah, and clearly they really haven't caught up yet because the showboats should not be 8.5-point dogs.
Yes, they should.
Dude,
you don't know the DC Defenders, especially with the beer snake.
You ain't seen what the showboats are showing this year, brother. They are nasty.
I think Stoops is the coach of the Renegades. How about the Brahmas? The Brahmas getting 7, obviously. That's not...
Well,
the Battle Hall.
There you go.
Yeah, that'll be a packed stadium.
Lords of the League.
Which is what we talked about earlier. When the St. Louis Rams ownership kind of threatened to leave St. Louis. If we don't get a new stadium, we need to leave. That stadium was by far the worst stadium in the league at the time. Oakland's Coliseum, I guess, would be number 1, but they were moving to Vegas. That decision had been made. That St. Louis Rams dome, awesome to be in there because the history, great show and turf, everything like that. But it was pretty crap. I mean, at the time, it had not become anywhere near a NFL caliber stadium. I think a lot of people would say if they played in there I think we were in there the last year. It was over there, or the second to last year it was over there, and it was like, this is pretty crap. Great environment, great fans, but just like quality of stuff, not good. Needing an update. So there's always that convo about like, we'll leave unless you give us one. St. Louis, for whatever reason, they don't come to an agreement. They don't get a new stadium. Kroenke gets the hell out of there, becomes the Los Angeles Rams. He ends up having to pay a few $100 million back to St. Louis to leave. Now, have you heard what's going on in Cincinnati? A rumored story we chit-chatted about. Fresh off the Trey Hendrickson, he should be happy with, line from the owners' meetings. Katie Blackburn was quoted as saying, we could, I guess, go wherever we wanted after this year if we didn't pick up the option, which is a 2-year extension to stay at Paycor Stadium, which they have to make the decision by June 30th of this year to give a year heads up to Hamilton so that they can start marketing to other people to potentially want to lease that stadium. Maybe us.
Interesting.
Maybe we'll lease a stadium and have a good time in there. Maybe. Who knows? Whatever the case would be. Doesn't feel like it's a big deal, especially from the people that were in the room said it's not a big deal. But the Bengals are literally a part of the fabric of society over there in Cincinnati, right, AJ?
Yeah, they absolutely are. This is kind of like the stadium thing's been going on for a few years in Cincinnati, like somewhat behind the scenes, I believe. But like, I guess the city, they're haggling over, I think, how they share revenue, like how much other events can happen in the stadium. Like, I guess Hamilton County, I think they proposed like $1.25 billion renovation plan for everything. And now the Bengals have been going back and forth, I guess, trying to figure out who pays for it, how much you pay for it, and then who gets to split everything and how it works.
Yeah, and once again, I believe this lady, Katie Blackburn, EVP currently of the Bengals, has evolved the Bengals into the 21st century. More, right? I think we would all agree with that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like, I think she's getting murdered because of the Trey Hendrickson line. But owners will say stuff, and I mean, Jerry's in the middle of it right now, which we'll certainly talk.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't think Katie meant to say, I assume once she read it and heard it and saw their reaction, she wasn't, like, pumped that she was the one that caused that, especially with Trey feeling disrespected, which should. This guy's an all-pro. He's sacking. You're talking about him as if he's just a guy who's lucky to be on the roster, and that's how it kind of came across. So I assume but this particular one, I think people were piggybacking on this, like, this lady's the worst. I disagree with that. I think she has, I'm not in the city, but I think she has tried to make the Bengals become a 2025 operation. Is that accurate from somebody that lives in Ohio and from the area?
I think 100% accurate. I was there for one season. Katie's there every day. Her daughters are there. Like, it's an absolute family thing, and she has brought she's made the Bengals very respectable, which, some people will have respect. Before the last 10, 15, 20 years, the Bengals were looked at, much differently.
Yeah, so Katie definitely said something dumb about Trey Hendrickson, is what we're saying. But also, this is not something that she should be getting absolutely crucified for. On that note, Jerry Jones has been speaking more about the Micah Parsons situation. Now, he obviously is up for a contract. Myles Garrett just got $40 million a year, allegedly. Okay, and with these contracts and with what they're being reported, with what they actually are, Christian Benford of the Bills was reported to be having
it was 4 years, $19 million. It was actually 4 years, $17.25 million per year.
Which doesn't seem like that much of a difference, but whenever we're talking about reporting contracts and then comps and what other people should be asking for, what is normally out in the public is not accurate. So what is Myles Garrett actually getting? Is it actually $40 million? I guess we'll find out. Nonetheless, Danielle Hunter signs, Myles Garrett signs, Mike is up, TJ pays Trey up for money. Trey was told by the Bengals allegedly last year that they would take care of it this offseason. Hopefully they'll do that. Micah is feeling the same exact way, as if he should get his deal done. Micah allegedly was talking to Stephen Jones and Jerry Jones about what could potentially become. He directed them to David Mulugeta. Jerry Jones was asked about that. He said, I don't know who that is. Well, he's about to learn. He's about to learn about who, David Mulugeta is. Today, there was a couple quotes that have come out from Jory Epstein about Jerry Jones speaking about the situation. He once again said, most everything that I've ever had success with, I've overpaid for. But I'll tell you, I've had it well analyzed when I did it. Usually, I'm a fat payer. I'm not bashful about sending the money out. What he just said there, I'll let you know, I'm well analyzed when I do this, though. It is worth it. Which leads to the next quote that he says about Micah Parsons. Jerry Jones on Micah Parsons. To be the player that he wants to be paid as, he has to be a tremendous leader for the Dallas Cowboys. I want to personally have total and complete satisfaction that I've got a commitment from him and that I can see that it's not just contract talk. So what he's saying is, first of all, when I overpay people, it's well analyzed. In my heart and in my brain, when I lay my head down, this is good money going to a good person. So him then coming out and saying, I want Micah to be the guy here. If this is how this is going to be, I want him to be the guy. And I would like to know that and have total, complete satisfaction that that's going to be the case. I assume that's Jerry saying why he was talking directly to Micah before Micah kind of led him to David Mulugeta. But it does feel like Jerry's going to inevitably pay Micah. But that's an interesting statement that he's saying publicly, basically to Micah, saying, hey, if this is what you want to act like and this is what you want to get paid as, this is what we need. Every snap, every down, every meeting, every day, you got to be our guy. Not saying that he isn't, but this is Jerry just publicly basically stating his expectations of Micah when he inevitably pays him, in my eyes.
Yeah, see, I feel like this is just, he's trying to motivate / negotiate through the press. I mean, if you're Mike and you hear this, he's not saying you're not the guy that we need, but I guess he's saying, hey, if we go ahead and we do this and we pay you what you rightfully deserve, like you're basically like, you're not the face of the franchise, but you're definitely one of them, and you have to act that way and has to trickle down through the locker room. Like there's a lot that goes with it. So he's probably just telling them, hey, like you got to continue on your path and continue to grow and mature as a pro.
Yeah, and there was, an ultimatum reported to Aaron Rodgers that was inevitably not true. All parties said it wasn't true, but it was quoted where, like, you're not doing that asshole Pat McAfee show, okay, if you come back here. Allegedly that was said, and then that was debunked immediately by all parties involved. But you do wonder what Jerry thinks about the Micah Parsons podcast.
Yes.
You do. Yeah. You do wonder what Jerry and Steven and everybody is like, hey, if we're paying, you're not going to be going on your thing just talking shit about our, like this is not,
Yeah.
And Mike is like, well, I'm trying to build my brand. People are interested. I'm one of the greatest young players in the league. I'm electrifying. I have a good personality, good work ethic. I'm having a good time. And Jerry's like, that's fine. Yeah, I just did a fucking landman. Okay, you can do this when it's done. You can do but if you would like the money that you are asking for, there's going to have to be a way you go about doing this. I do wonder if that is the case. I'm not saying that's definitely in there, but I think all of that shit goes into, if you want to be a franchise player, you're going to have to act how I would like our franchise player to act. What are those things? How will Mulugeta navigate the waters? Perfectly, I assume. David Mulugeta is the guy to kind of get it done. So I think we all assume he's going to get paid a lot of money. What does it look like going forward with Micah is the question.
Yeah, and when it comes to like being a leader, you would assume that what Jerry's looking for is for more of the kind of in locker room conversations that sometimes do leak onto the podcast. Like kind of looking around the league, you could maybe say, Amon-Ra St. Brown is kind of one of those guys who's at that level, but still does kind of the weekly podcast type thing. But even that is with his brother. They have, guests on the show a lot. Like I remember a few years back, maybe it was last year or 2 years ago, when Micah was supposed to do the weekly thing with Undisputed, I believe, with Skip and Shannon, and then that kind of blew up. I think right after his first appearance, maybe his second appearance, and then obviously we all see what happens with the podcast. A lot of times he goes on there and he just says some ridiculous stuff that typically gets into the headlines. And then even the traveling around, I think he was with CJ Stroud in Japan last year. And granted, that is the off season. That is
go live your life.
Yeah,
But if we're going to pay you $40 million a year, your life is going to look a little different publicly. Is probably what Jerry and them are saying.
Yes.
If I had to guess.
Yeah.
Is that what you?
That's what. Yeah, that's exactly what I was kind of reiterating too. Is just like those type of things that are very in the public eye because he is Micah Parsons. Like it's not as if he's a rookie here. You know, you've talked about it before. Hey, I wasn't gonna be tweeting and doing all of that bullshit with the Colts if I wasn't performing well. Like Micah Parsons he's a superstar. He's unbelievable. He does play very well, and it kind of gets down to the point where like the only downside to Micah thus far has been the off the field shit with the podcast, with those things.
Something he said taken out of context, something he said maybe not how he wanted to say it, something he said not landing right. Like, we're in this world, so we very much understand
completely.
Anytime you get on a mic, there's a chance that your shit's going to get taken out of context. There's a chance that it's not going to land how you wanted it to land. Your intentions of your message might have been a good delivery, but what people heard or wanted to hear is actually how they take it, and then all of a sudden you're in the middle of a storm. And the storm is a distraction, and winning is already hard enough. So if it is about all these things, which we assume.
From that quote.
We assume that is what it is. We could be wrong, but that is just us looking at the situation, trying to understand what an 80-plus-year-old man could be thinking that has run a team, and saying, hey, if you $40 million a year we're paying a pass rusher, if that is the case, we're going to need all energies going towards how do we make the star better? Every moment is how do we go about doing that? And what we would say to Micah is, Micah, podcasts maybe not as prevalent whenever you're done, but there will be some form of content that you'll be able to create whenever you're done. If you're going to get record-breaking money like this, keep the main thing for as long as you can keep the main thing. And all the other stuff, whatever you're allowed to do, certainly do it. But no, with the career you're about to have as a Dallas Cowboy and the personality that you've already showcased, you're going to be A-OK whenever this whole thing is over. I know it can be hard to be patient and wait for that. And maybe have a emergency podcast if you think something is not being reported accurately or talked about in a proper standpoint. But do not let the side shit ever interrupt the main shit, because the main shit is $40 million a year, seemingly, is what the main stuff is. And now, granted, you can get that with the side shit as well. Let's not get crazy. You can certainly make that amount of money. It's going to take a long time.
Yeah.
And it's going to take a lot of strategy. It's going to take a lot of commitment. Same amount of commitment it's going to take to get to the quarterback. So we, as people that don't know Micah, would just like to say, if this is the only thing that is potentially holding up this deal getting done, go ahead and understand the podcast will be there whenever you are done sacking quarterbacks for $40 million a year, if that is potentially the case. And I know that sounds hypocritical potentially as somebody that had a podcast while I was playing and did a stand-up tour while I was playing and had a merch company while I was playing. I knew I was 2 shanks away, from this thing is over at all times. And also, I'm making $2.5 million a year. And I don't think I'm the face of a franchise. $40 million a year, face of the franchise. The side money will come. The main money is very, very good. And that's just unsolicited advice from somebody that does not know Micah Parsons.
Yeah, I mean, because he had the situation, I think it was even last year, where like he's on the podcast and they're doing their top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL, and he doesn't put Dak on there, and like whether that was, I'm sure that was just like an oversight,
said, omitting.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But like that doesn't get out, and that's all anyone's talking about, and like to the brand part of it. Like, obviously, none of us are in that situation. Like, he's one of the biggest stars in the NFL, so it's kind of like strike while the iron's hot. But I'm sure part of that, too, is like, hey, listen, like, the what you're going to be able to achieve by being one of the stars of the Cowboys, like, we have the strongest brand in all of sports. Like, you don't need your podcast necessarily to, like that, like you said, that is always going to be there. But if you do everything right on the field, like, you're going to make more money than you have any idea what to do with, because you're going to be one of the biggest stars on the planet.
Yeah, and you look at the booths, okay?
Yeah.
And that's just like a direct indicator of like who. It's like the Cowboys have a pipeline into a booth. Yes, I'm not saying Micah's going to want to do a booth, but that pipeline those are like the most difficult jobs to get.
Yes.
Because there's only so many. Can turn that pipeline to a studio show or to your own show or to your own, like the Jerry Jones Dallas Cowboys funnel of shit after life, I think, after football life is very large. So I hope that's not holding it up. And this is once again us just assuming that this is all this thing, but you couldn't help but assume that is a part of Jerry Jones's thinking, AJ Hawk.
I mean, don't you I think about it as well. Yeah, of course, keep the main thing, like the oldest coaching cliche situation. It makes a lot of sense, but it could be a lot worse. Like, what if, he's out there, he got a couple DUIs, he's robbing gas stations. Like it could be much worse. The fact that this is the off the field stuff we're talking about, it's a new time. I mean, like, yeah, especially guys coming up. Guys are in high school with shows and putting content and stuff. So this is going to be something they're going to deal with. It's just, do you have the awareness to know, like, I better be producing. Like, if I'm going to be doing this sideshow stuff, I have to produce, and it should motivate you to produce even more.
For me, it was 1,000%, because as soon as Chuck Pagano gets to Indianapolis, I have my first meeting with him. He looked sweet. He had Ferragamo. He looked really cool. Of course. It was very nice to meet him, And they tried to replace me immediately with another punter, especially because I was tweeting and everything like that. And then they heard the sound at practice one time, and they understood that was probably not going to happen. Okay, like that is... Welcome to the bomb show, brothers. And that was they brought in numerous guys to try to take me out. I had to learn how to become a directional punter in one off season, because they were basically like, hey, we're directional punting, and if you can't do it, you're gone. They wanted me out of there. I understood it. Like, it was very clear. And I taught myself how to directional punt, which everybody should be able to do. The only reason why I didn't is because I didn't know how to punt whenever I got drafted. So it was just a new thing. I added it in there. But they were trying to get rid of me for sure. No question about it. And then I think they got to know me a little bit and everything like that. And Chuck presented one time. He was like, why don't you stop tweeting? And I was like, hey, back in the day, I was out 4 nights a week. Okay? Having a pretty good time. A little bit too much of a good time. You see the mugshot, obviously. Now I'll put out a tweet about something I'm watching while I'm laying in my bed. Okay? If I cause any distractions, you can fucking find me. You can do whatever you need to do. If I shank some balls, you can get rid of me. But if I'm tweeting about a Real Housewives episode or tweeting about something happening in my life, just know that, like, that in comparison to a lot of other things could be vastly different. And Chuck said, deal, he said, deal, you got it. And then obviously I go on to have my best stuff from being under that umbrella and going through it all. But I knew that I was literally 3 bad tweets away and 2 shanks away from being kicked out of town, But that does heighten the sense of everything, Heightens practice. It's like, hey, if I want to do all this stuff and set up myself up for post-career, which punting money, great. Overpaid, grotesquely overpaid as a punter to kick balls. 1,000%. I am not saying that is not the case, but also that money's not lasting forever, So, like, if I want to set up myself forever, I have to make sure that this is locked tight. And I am when I'm there, I'm earliest one in, I'm fucking dialed in, I'm bought in, I'm in I'm a positive for this team as a punter, as opposed to this guy has a Twitter account and he's shitbird. It's like all those things kind of go together, and it's modern world.
Are we wrong though? Are we wrong to assume that players have that same feeling, have that same awareness that are doing this stuff? Like, I would assume, like, most people that do it understand the deal. Like, hey, I don't want to come on here after we get blasted and I'm loafing all over the field and I come in and I have to talk like nothing happened.
Micah's such a superstar.
Yeah, I don't know if you can assume anything.
He's so good.
So good at football. So good at football. Such a superstar. It's like, and I assume Bleacher Report was paying him pretty good. I assume Bleacher Report was paying him pretty, not $40 million a year, but they were certainly.
But how different is it though? Like, guys have local shows all the time. Like, especially a place like Green Bay, Wisconsin. I was there 9 years. There's like backup quarterbacks have shows every Tuesday night. They would drive 45 minutes to and do a radio show from a bar. Like, there's stuff like that happening all the time, and that was streamed and everything. I guess, how is that different than this?
Because nobody heard him.
Yeah,
but they could if they wanted to. I guess, but
nobody did. Micah's shit, everybody hears. That's like us. Too many people hear our show. Everybody hears our show, which
he should say sorry that they want to hear what I have to say.
Or those backup quarterbacks.
Well, that goes back to me saying, like, Micah, when you're done, you're going to be. It's going to be A-okay, brother. It's still going to be there. All I'm saying is if his podcast or any of the other content stuff is the reason to hold up a $41 million a year job, do not. And I assume Mulligeta's saying the same thing, like, brother, you can do Dallas Cowboys content on their social media. We can still keep you relevant in this entire thing. And also, that's one less job that you have to have.
Yeah.
Because people do take it that way. Like, when I would go do stand-up or whatever, I would hear people, and they'd say, oh, you're doing that instead of focusing on ball. I'm like, well, when I went to, like a breast cancer awareness event on like a Tuesday night, which lucky to do, thankful to do, I didn't hear you saying I wasn't focusing on ball then, so there is always like when Aaron comes on our show, the original pitch was like, hey, on Tuesdays, off days, people normally do like local shows that players have had forever. Players have been getting paid for forever. Instead of doing that, would you just want to do like an internet show with us or whatever? And he goes, yeah, I haven't done that in a few years, actually. And that was the beginning of Aaron Rodgers Tuesday. So there's always been some sort of content being created with players. It's just how many people hear it. And if nobody hears it, it's not really a distraction. If everybody hears everything you're saying, then it causes shit,
Yeah.
And that's coming from experience and also from like watching the world. Micah's shit gets heard.
Yeah.
By everybody.
Every week.
So no matter what you say, it's going to get responded to, which is going to add another element of, which Jerry Jones could like, and we could be completely wrong on this entire read of this. Jerry Jones could like that Micah Parsons, I like that the star is in the middle of all these things.
You're right. He could.
Could. I mean, we don't know that for sure, but what we do know is like, it's hard to win in football, in the NFL. It's even more hard whenever you got people taking tours around your facility.
Yeah.
It's even more hard whenever you got everything, let alone causing more shit potentially from something. So I hope they get it worked out. And I think TJ Watt's like, yeah, why don't you guys go ahead and
hurry up.
Why don't you let Mulugeta go ahead and figure that whole thing out, and then we'll see where we're headed with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Well, for Jerry, too, like he might be looking around and thinking, okay, the NFC title game was the Commanders and the Eagles, the two teams in our division, and do any of those guys on those two teams, are they kind of dicking around doing anything? No. Okay, how do we get there? Like, actually, especially when
Brandon Graham, right? BG, he had that one.
He did the thing about Jalen, and that kind of fell into the because he talked about on the weekly radio hit about Jalen and AJ Brown having a bad relationship.
Boom, yeah, which was drama.
Which was huge drama.
But then it got,
and that was only once. That was the one time people heard Brandon Graham on that.
Did not know the show existed.
Didn't know the show existed. That was when Brandon Graham had the torn tricep. He wasn't playing really yet, not yet. Rather, he was kind of out for the year till the Super Bowl. So who knows if he did that every week again? Don't even know because he's not Micah Parsons and he wasn't talked about every single week repeatedly because he's one of the biggest stars. But you assume Jerry, you talk about like heightened, hey, we got to go right now with the way the Commanders and the Eagles are. If anything can be kind of nixed in the sense of, hey, let's try and get back to the Super Bowl, a podcast
just optically.
Optically too.
Even if on Mondays he is doing something that he would normally that isn't football related, optically it doesn't look like you're distracted. And I knew that was the thing for me. And once again, much different ballgame, Micah Parsons and I. So I'm just saying at my small level, optically, me having any brand name, tweet, anything that I did, if I don't do well, it's like, this guy's distracted. He's worried about other shit. Get him the hell out of our town. There's only 53 spots, okay? You should be lucky that you're here, is how fans view this entire thing. You should be lucky you're a part of our team. You should be focused on our team. I'm not saying that should be reality. Obviously, guys have to be able to do their own shit. But if you're going to get 40-some million a year, optically, it could be very easy to soothe that over with just being like, I'm all in on ball. And once again, if you want to make content, just do it with the Cowboys social media, which still has massive reach. Posty's available. Jerry's available.
Yeah. Yep.
You can still make content with the boys.
You also wonder how much of it might be like, hey, when you were doing this stuff in the past, we had Mike McCarthy there. This guy is a veteran. He's won a Super Bowl before. Now we have a first-time head coach. We need you to be a leader in the locker room so that, this stuff doesn't blow up, and this is all Brian Schottenheimer's dealing with all the time. He's got enough on his plate trying to navigate how to, get this thing going in the right direction. We need you to make sure that everyone's rowing in the right direction.
What we're saying, Micah, is get every dollar, brother.
Yep.
Get every dollar.
New England would love you, too.
You've earned it. And I'm sure there would be a lot of other places that would love to pay you. But he has fifth-year franchise.
You're not going anywhere.
Yeah, if they want to. And when he got drafted, he cried because he wanted to be a Cowboy his entire life. Feels like a perfect fit. Hopefully they're able to get it done. And if the podcast still remains, all right, sweet. Can't wait to hear what that is. Last night, baseball. Their biggest star had a massive moment. Ty Schmidt, what happened in the bottom of the ninth?
Yeah, Shohei Ohtani hits a walk-off home run. The Dodgers were kind of losing. They've actually had to come back in several of their games so far this year. And, yeah, this moment is just incredible.
Go back to the beginning of this, and let's just run this. So, bottom of the ninth, Atlanta Braves, who are completely defeated, taking on the Los Angeles Dodgers, who are undefeated.
Correct.
The Atlanta Braves had a lead. The Los Angeles Dodgers have a comeback. It's the bottom of the ninth, 1 out, tie ball game. In at bat, the biggest star in baseball, Shohei Ohtani in front of his home crowd. Let's take the walk into the batter's box and to see what happens. On your feet. I wonder what he's going to do here. 2 for 4, 2 singles. He's seen it pretty well. Tie ball game. First pitch. Yup!
Fly ball to center field. Harris is back. Oh, Tony!
Walk off.
Inevitable!
It's magical. That's last night in Los Angeles. The Dodgers are now 8-0. And to have a moment like that this early in the season is great for baseball. Speaking of great for baseball, a man joins us now. He is the play-by-play for Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN. He's been at ESPN since 1993. Friend of the program, ladies and gentlemen, Karl Ravech.
Yeah, Karl!
How's it going, Ravech?
Not as good as Ohtani, but things are good. I can tell you that. But not as good as Shohei.
Okay, let's talk about that because, you know, in a lot of sports, whenever the superstars perform well, the sport's going to do well. When the superstars play like shit, people are going to bury the sport. Feels like right now with Paul Skeens, Shohei Ohtani, Soto, I believe, over there in New York,
Judge.
and Aaron Judge, they're all playing good ball. That moment last night, my God, showing up in a massive way, bottom of the ninth, this early into the season, I think it's going to keep people hooked. I think it's going to keep people interested. And that type of magic happening with this guy, it seems to be just like the way it goes with him. He's on pace to be the GOAT, Ravi. And how do you feel about the state of baseball with him leading the way?
Yeah, no, he is that. You know, I'm trying to think, given this is a sports show that talks about every sport, football, etc., there probably hasn't been a athlete who's more well-known globally, maybe since Tiger Woods, maybe Muhammad Ali, than this guy. I think you could make the case he's the biggest and most well-known athlete globally on the planet because, obviously, of what he does in Asia, and that's why the Dodgers invested in him. You got to remember a couple of things about him. This season alone, forget about pitching, et cetera, and his MVPs, he went to Japan. The expectations were off the charts. We just did the Dodgers Thursday to open the season, and one of the things that all the players were even astounded by and company was how big in that country he is. There is no comparison in this country to his popularity in that country. It doesn't exist. He goes over there, they win 2 games, he hits a homer. You have to understand, last night was Shohei Ohtani bobblehead night. So not only do they come out to get a bobblehead, they lined up beginning at 7, 8, 9 in the morning to get the Ohtani bobblehead. And then on his night, he walks up to the plate, and I swear, you talk to the players, you talk to the fans, he was expected to do what he did. The level of accountability is beyond recognition. It's Brady in a Super Bowl at his prime. It's Woods at a major at his prime. It's not a question of where. It's not a question of is he going to hit a homer. It's where's the ball going to go. That's the level of expectation and delivery we're talking about.
Okay, so Ravi, I appreciate you telling us all these things, and my respect for Shohei grows even more every time I learn something about him. I think not just popularity in Japan, he's babyface over there too. Like he's loved by everybody. It's not just like known by everybody. It's beloved by everybody there, which is obviously impossible, and it's because he's been so good for America. For MLB, he's been amazing. For baseball, he's been amazing. And this is all happening while Mitsuhara almost derailed the entire thing. He seems to be a robot. Why do you think he is so locked in? Why do you think he's so unflappable? And is he just engineered to be the superstar that baseball has needed for some time?
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing how quickly the injuries and playing in Anaheim have derailed the kind of the Mike Trout train we were all on. But this right here that we're seeing is exactly the type of response the Dodgers were hoping for in Japan, let alone in Los Angeles. And for a bobblehead, I mean, seriously. Now, I assume if you're a smart company like the Dodgers are, you will then try to sell bobbleheads. But maybe there's there's an exclusivity to it. But look at how many people turned out to get a bobblehead doll of Shohei Ohtani. Yeah, he is that guy. I'll say this: when we walked into the clubhouse on Thursday at around 7 o'clock, so local time game 4 o'clock. We get there at 1 o'clock. Ohtani is sitting at his locker, and it's not as if his locker is separate from everybody else's. There's Freeman, locker next to his open. There's Betts, locker next to his. In baseball, when you've reached a certain status, you have a locker, a corner locker if you're guys like Ohtani and Betts, and then there's an entire locker next to yours empty. So he's got the locker next to his empty. We walk into the clubhouse, and this has become fairly common in baseball, guys. You walk in, and they know the media is allowed in at a certain time, and they run. They hide like ants.
Hooty-hoo, yeah. Absolutely.
They hide.
Yeah.
Ohtani sits at his locker, and there was no boy in the plastic bubble, but nobody really approached him. But he sat at his locker alone and looking at film, studying. So remember Ivan Lendl when he played tennis? And he was a robot. That's how I looked at Ivan Lendl. Ohtani's got a great smile. I saw him squeeze Edman's muscle last night after Edman homered. There's a personality there. He does. He lights up a room with his magnetism, and then he lights up stadiums with his ability. He's absolutely different and gifted to a level. Again, you go to Babe Ruth. We may never have seen it. I can't wait to see him pitch, assuming they're going to say, yeah, we know you're on pace to hit, 70 homers and win a batting title and an MVP.
Bases.
But
steal 70 bases.
You do that too. They may not need him. I'm sure he is going to do that because he wants to. He's as unique a talent as I've ever seen, I've ever seen on a baseball field.
Lucky that we're in the era of it. Very, very pumped. I love this dude. Have since the very beginning of learning about him. And the Babe Ruth comparison is awesome because obviously pitch and hit.
Yeah.
And that swing just seemingly was a casual.
So smooth.
That was like a 7-iron almost. Just like casual, deep center field to walk off.
Well, how big are you, Pat? How big are you?
I'm 6'2".
Yeah. So yeah, I mean this guy is not Aaron Judge, but he's darn close. I mean, he fills out a uniform, and when you see him stand next to others, look at him. I mean,
he got a fat ass. That guy's got a huge ass. You're talking about.
I think Buck Showalter used to call that a high butt, and that was a quality of a player. If you got a high butt, you're going to be a good baseball player.
Yeah, in football, it's the same exact thing. Yeah, we're looking for explosivity, which is normally coming from the hind end, and it feels like his base is obviously spectacular. I think he's 6'4" or something like that. And,
6'4", 6'5", and about 2 feet, just muscle. 240, 230. He's just strong.
On all the things you just mentioned, Ty has a question.
Yeah, Ravi, when you take all that into consideration, the Dodgers, this start, obviously they haven't started this well since 1955 when they were in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
They keep coming back in all these games. Their pitching depth is unbelievable. Are we is it almost expected that they're going to break the single season wins record this year?
Yeah, I think they will. I thought the Mariners, who won, the 116, 17 games, were the biggest disappointment in baseball because they never did anything in the postseason. I don't think there's any question this team passes that record, the 0-1 Mariners. I don't think there's any question about it. The only I don't, usually health can slow down a juggernaut like this. They are so deep. They could actually have a handful of guys go down. They could rest guys. Blake Snell was not good last night. He was complaining to the umpires. They're not beating the chicken crap of Major League Baseball. They just rolled through the Atlanta Braves. I mean, think about the Braves going home now, having not won a game, and realize what the Dodgers do. Again, the Dodgers 3, 4, 5 starters. When you parade Glasnow out there against your number 3, or Blake Snell because the way you're number 4, it becomes so demoralizing, and that's what they do on a nightly basis. And the idea that they came from behind from 5-zip is just another indication. To his credit, Dave Roberts seems to have got this culture, and I think it's rooted in Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman and Max Muncy. They won the World Series. Their entire goal now is to do better than they did last year. And you guys know this, with sports and with champions, sometimes there's a hangover. No chance with this group. They want to win the day. And if you win the day, you could win every day. And they're obviously doing that right now.
162-0 would be awesome. Good luck out there.
That'd be pretty sweet. I can't wait. I'd love to cover that. Man, I love that.
Last question about the Dodgers here from Ty.
Yeah, Ravi, so you mentioned it, Shohei obviously wants to pitch. There's no two ways about that. But I'm kind of the train of thought, why would you pitch this guy? He's so good at the plate. That's the only thing that could really derail stuff is if he has another elbow injury or has another season-ending injury. I know you mentioned, how deep they are with the pitching staff. So if Snell or Glasnow or one of those guys goes down, maybe you slide him into the rotation. But do you think there's any thought that hey, we're just going to have this guy focus on hitting because again, he might win an MVP. He could hit 74 homers this year.
He'd win the MVP. There's no doubt about it. I think the dynamic between the Dodgers and Ohtani is unique. The Jordan rules existed with the Chicago Bulls. I don't think that the Ohtani rules exist with the Dodgers, but clearly a guy that's compensated the way he is with his talent is given certain liberties. And I think if he wants to pitch, which he does, they're going to afford him that opportunity. May not be as often as he'd like, but I think he really wants to do that. Again, if we're going to talk about how driven he is to be the best hitter on the planet, the best base runner on the planet, he wants to be the best pitcher on the planet, and I think they will afford him that opportunity. And again, you may forget how darn good the guy was as a pitcher. He's a great pitcher. This isn't adding a number 5.
Speaking of pitching, Tone has a question for you.
Yeah, he would have to be the second best pitcher in MLB behind Paul Skeens, who's the first pitcher since ERA was a stat to go 25 stats, go sub-2 ERA and have 175 plus strikeouts. Is Skeens the most dominant young pitcher you've ever seen? And if you guys, do you have the Pirates on the Sunday Night Baseball schedule this year, or can you not do that because you would have to just get lucky to get Skeens on his pitching day?
Yeah, I mean, the whole Sunday night thing, the pitching is luck. I mean, with the exception of Thursday, the literal opening day of the season, we are at the mercy of whatever pitcher is pitching. It's not like Monday Night Football where you're going to have the quarterback every Monday night. It doesn't work that way. NBA games don't work that way with guys getting rest. So that would be all luck if we got Skeens. Have I seen a dominant pitcher? I don't know. I got to know him at LSU. I was there for that World Series championship. Pat, you can speak to it. You've been around athletes, your entire life. There are guys who attempt to well, they get it, but they also work their ass off more than anybody else.
Yes.
Skeens did that. Ohtani does that. Mookie Betts does that, in the baseball world. That's why people always wonder, why golfers, why Tiger Woods, why Scotty Scheffler, do they tweak their swings? It's because they're not satisfied even with winning multiple majors and being the number one player on the planet. Skeens, Ohtani, Mookie Betts. To your question, was Dwight Gooden that great? Was Jacob deGrom that great as a young pitcher? Yeah, I'm not certain that there's anybody who's better than Skeens after 1 year and now 2. I think we'd be fooling ourselves the same way Ohtani has this global appeal. There's the right side of the picture with Paul Skeens, which also affects how people feel about him. And I saw the photo shoot that he and Livy did. So there's things that go along with these great performers. And I think a lot of people love everything about what Paul Skeens means. Yeah, there's the shot.
Also, Rue, Ravi. Have a little respect for the
Lou.
dog.
I would look. I'm all about Lou.
Rue.
I love Lou.
Rue with an R.
Lou looks good.
You're not Ravech. You're Ravech. Jeez Louise.
Oh, it's Rue like ROO.
Yeah, ROU. Jeez Louise.
Oh, like Baton Rouge. Okay, I get it.
I thought it was Hunger Games.
Operator, won't you put me on?
You know whose dog? I will say. You know whose dog's name is Roo? Is Rocket? They got a Rocket and a Roo. He just texted me. Is my buddy Jimmy Dykes? Those are his dog's name. Rocket and Roo, but it's ROO.
Tell Jimmy Dykes I said hello. AJ has a question for you, Ravi.
Yeah, Ravi, speaking of pitchers, have you spoken to many of these pitchers around the major leagues and how pissed off they might be about these torpedo bats? Are they trying to come together and get these things banned? And what do you think the future looks like?
I grew up in Massachusetts.
Hell
we used
yeah.
to go to a thing called candlepin bowling. That right there is what we would try to. If you cut that off at the label, that would be 10 of those would be standing, and we would take a little bowling ball and try to knock them down.
Duck pin bowling.
Chain reaction.
Duck pin bowling.
No, not big ball. No, not big ball.
No. Duck pin.
It's called duck pin.
It's called duck pin, Ravi.
Duck pin.
Yeah. We got
candlepin. Candlepin, where I'm from, Massachusetts, Candlepin. They used to have Bob Gamere on Sunday every night. Candlepin bowling, and he would have bowling for dollars. It was great.
No chain reaction on that.
Shout out Rick Kenmore.
Look like there's.
You can spin it up there and wipe those things out.
Okay, I bet you could too, Ravi. Obviously,
my brother was the bowler. Karl was not. Matt Ravech was the bowler.
Shout out to Matt.
Back to the question. I don't think they're not pissed off because look, the Yankees dealt with cold weather, and then all of a sudden they dealt with better pitchers, and the balls weren't flying. Although I think our guy Bregman hit a torpedo bat home run today. Like, it makes a lot of sense. And golf has done this forever. If you can increase the size of the face of a golf club and allow you to miss the sweet spot, but technically be in the sweet spot, that's what that bat is. That's keeping you into the sweet spot for a lot longer. So hit one off that label, and there's just a lot more meat on the bone.
That's what PXG's doing.
Hell yeah.
Exactly.
Smart.
That is what Bob Parsons
find it anywhere near the sweet spot, and that ball's just going to
go
on and 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 on.
Shout out to Parsons. Shout out to Parsons. Shout out to Matt Ravech as well. I assume he's from Massachusetts. Speaking of, Connor has a question for you.
Yeah, Karl, let's talk about it. You are from Massachusetts. Shout out Needham. And the real reason baseball is back, and we can talk about the Al Gore inconvenient truth, is because the Boston Red Sox are back, and it seems
haven't said their name one time.
It seems like you just mentioned Bregman hitting a home run for the Boston Red Sox today with a torpedo bat. It was an absolute moonshot. Oh,
a lot of people there.
And who's it against? Yeah, it's at Baltimore, one of the best teams. Shitty market. You know what's not a shitty market? Boston. So now that Boston's back,
Boston can't move the needle in Baltimore. I know. Shohei comes to town. Fill it up.
You think
Boston comes to town? Fill it up.
Yeah, right. Not in poopy Baltimore. They'll
Baltimore's a great place.
Hey, guess where Sunday Night Baseball is?
Where?
Boston, not Baltimore, because Baltimore stinks.
No, Baltimore's a great place.
Baltimore isn't a great place. We don't have to play this game, okay?
Jimmy's Famous Seafood's over there. Great crab cakes.
Yeah, and that's a little bit outside the city, okay? It's not in Camden Park, whatever the hell it's called. But let's talk about it, Karl. The Boston Red Sox are back. You are headed there for Sunday Night Baseball this week against the St. Louis Cardinals. And actually, this is the first time I've actually paid attention to this graphic. Their Sox are on it, baby. Hold the phone. We are one of the top 5, top 10 favorites to win the World Series. Is it time for Boston, for myself, for the people of the city and New England to get back into baseball? Because even though people might not think Boston baseball town, because Boston's more of a title town, are the Sox back in it? Should we start paying attention, or should I be following the Red Sox all year?
Yeah, I know. I think you're on the bandwagon. Has got open doors, and people are piling on. I think the Braves were on that list as the second favorite, and they've lost their first 7 games. So, the Red Sox are a real deal this year, and they're spending money. I mean, the Red Sox were part of Title Town. It wasn't just the Celtics and the Bruins. Amen. The Red Sox had won those titles as well. The Red Sox were the biggest roller coaster in the world, winning championships and then finishing in last place. The Alex Bregman deal came out of nowhere, although I'll be honest with you, I had only thought Bregman was going to end up in Boston because of the wall out there, and that's a perfect pulled park for a guy like that. Not pulled pork, pulled park. That's a perfect park.
I had some pulled pork this morning, not bad.
Pretty good.
Pulled pork is also a good time, just like down in Tampa.
Oh, yeah.
That's a pulled pork, push park, and a
you bet. All the above.
Good pork.
Baltimore's a great city. I'm a shellfish allergy guy, so I can't have crab cakes.
AJ?
We will be Saturday night, the North End. North End Saturday night, pre-Red Sox. No, but honestly, Garrett Crochet, terrific yesterday. Obviously a long-term deal. Christian Campbell looks again. Don't quote me, but he has some of the mannerisms of a young Mookie Betts. He's got an electric bat. He's got
just hit a bomb today.
Did he just?
Oh yeah.
A long-term 8-year deal for Christian Campbell. You don't invest in players like that, and they let Mookie get away, which has turned out to be a disaster for the Red Sox.
Whoa! Let's talk about Campbell, okay? Let's talk about Campbell. We don't got.
You like Christian Campbell? Christian Campbell's special.
I've been saying that.
Okay, so
special.
We're wrapping up here on ESPN. We have a hard out coming in like a minute and a half. But you just mentioned something there that I don't know if you know that you can combat. You said you have a shellfish allergy, which normally has the ability to take people out. You know, that thing swells up, you can't breathe. AJ had a shellfish allergy at one point in his life, actually. AJ, would you like to talk to Ravi about what he could potentially do so he could be at the hoity-toity events having shrimp cocktail?
Yeah, Ravi, sorry, I know we're up against a hard out, so I can't give you the whole plan. But if you let me know, I can help you through this. I once had a shellfish allergy as well, and through the course of about 5 to 6 years, I've come through the other side. I can have shellfish.
He microdosed himself. So he can.
Was it worth it? Is it worth it?
Probably not, to be honest with you. I don't really like it that much.
Yeah, but when he grabs
Quick story, I know you're up against it. I ordered chicken piccata once in Nashville, Tennessee. I thought they had little gnocchi in them. Turns out it was lump crab. Right to the hospital at Vanderbilt.
Almost dead? that thing.
Jeez, why are you laughing?
Lump crab.
You dog.
Chicken piccata.
Right to the hospital.
That happened to TJ Watt, right?
Thank God we had good. Yeah. The shellfish, the nut allergies, they can really. That's like I have a daughter right now, and the first time having her have peanut was like
fingers crossed.
Here we go. Yeah. We could be going to the hospital for the next day here in its entirety.
EpiPen, baby. EpiPen it up.
Okay, you always have one of those on. You go to Jimmy's Famous, get yourself an EpiPen and a crab cake. It'll be worth it. We're going to continue digitally. We'll be back tomorrow here on ESPN. Be a friend, tell a friend something nice. It might change their life. Okay, we nailed it. Okay, Ravi. We're still live. YouTube, ESPN Plus, Disney Plus, and I think we're banned from TikTok Live.
Sure.
Shoot. I think there's a chance we're getting bombarded.
Okay.
There's a chance we're getting attacked. You know,
that happens.
That's going to happen from time to time, especially with the way we, our lives have been going.
Right after the tariffs, I think we can assume who's doing it.
Liberation Day. Yeah. Okay, Ravi, we saw the who's going to win graphic. It's the Dodgers. Yeah. It's the Dodgers. And we asked about the Pirates earlier. Pirates have any chance?
No.
Making it?
Aren't they up on that graphic?
Making what?
Making the
fourth one down on the right?
No, that's Padres.
Oh. The 500?
What team, I guess up there?
Finishing 162? Absolutely. They will do that.
Oh, yes, Karl. Yes.
And Pat, I'm a Pittsburgh guy, but not in that league and not in that division.
Okay. All right. So
Reds are too strong.
Cincinnati Reds have it.
Yeah,
The Reds are good. The Reds are good. No.
Every year we're told the Reds are good.
They got Tito.
Yeah, but every year before this, they didn't have Terry Francona.
Bingo.
He's the difference maker.
Well, and then we got. Anytime I see Herbie tweeting, I'm like, okay, the Reds are doing it.
Yeah, he's off the Blue Jackets wagon all of a sudden.
No, he's just not tweeting about it. He picks and chooses, keeps it positive.
We know Herbie loves baseball. He hit 700 in high school.
Legit, he is a baseball guy.
Herbie loves baseball. He also loves SEC basketball. We got a very nice text from Kirk Herbstreit about SEC basketball coverage. Yeah, he's dialed into that.
Yeah, well, did you know his high school at Centerville, he's the all-time leader of homers? Did you know that?
Did not. I did know he's a baseball rat. I know that.
I think he was actually a guy. I think baseball was probably his
sport. He keeps the book. Doesn't he keep the book when he goes and watches a game as a spectator?
Probably. He's a stats guy?
Probably. That would be a Herbie move.
Dork.
It would be a Herbie move. Actually, probably have Jake do it.
Yeah.
Jake, 2 strikes.
Or Peter.
E1 in the entirety.
You know who was keeping the book the other night in L.A. at Dodger Stadium was Tom Hanks. He was all about the book, man.
A lot of stars out there I've seen. A lot of people coming.
A lot of stars.
Feel like baseball has momentum right now or no?
Oh, God, yeah. Baseball, because they fixed it with the pitch clock, the bigger bases, get some speed going.
Bigger bases?
I
didn't know this.
Yeah.
They got a little bigger bases. I think that it's really interesting. You tell me what you think. Over the next couple of years, does NIL screw up college to the point where people get pissed about it and they're not going to follow it as much as they are? Because I keep hearing, and I do the SEC, so I'm on the right side of where it's going. They have great success, but so many colleges are going to be, and their fan base, sort of put off by the rich getting richer. Major League Baseball has some of that with the Dodgers, but still, we haven't had a repeat winner since the Yankees in 98, 99, and 2000. Is that a possibility that unless they fix this, they're going to alienate a large percentage of the global group?
Very interesting. I have not even thought about that for a potential benefit of baseball or other sports, maybe even NHL.
Major sports,
like
yeah.
NHL, I think, is having a good time right now. And I think it's the product on the ice or the product on the field. And if stars are playing well, like for instance, in the NHL right now, Alexander Ovechkin is chasing a record that nobody thought would. Right. And you're talking about an all-time great, and their team's doing well. So that's great buzz. Last night I was watching, they had a camera on Ovi the entire time with stats underneath and who scored what. And it's like, that is a good promotion right now. We even got a thing sent to us from, I think the NHL or maybe the Capitals, where it's a countdown thing for how many goals until he breaks the record, and the great 8 thing. So
I love that.
I think that's good for the NHL because superstars are performing well on the ice. For baseball, superstars are performing well. I think that is what it takes. And if you prove to the fan, like the casual fan like myself, if you prove that when I turn this on, something is going to happen. Like the people I know.
Especially out of the gate.
Bingo.
Especially out of the gate. That's why the Judge thing was so big. That's why Ohtani in Japan and then on Thursday night to open it is so big. You need that. And then you get the Ovi Cam is the second best Ovi thing ever next to Ovi Splits that you could get at the Brick Bar up in Buffalo. That was a big thing. A whole case of Ovi Splits. I just had this conversation with somebody. Honest to God, I believe the Brick Bar just had a big fire. Seriously.
Oh, no.
I think the Brick Bar may have had a big fire, which wasn't good at all. But yeah, Ovi Cam, Ovi Splits.
Well, Ravi would like to help with the Brick Bar getting back on its feet. Obviously, if there's anything to do that, we appreciate you mentioning Brick Bar, which I did not know existed until now. But I'm also hoping that the Brick Bar comes back in a big way. On the note, though, of baseball having a moment here in superstars and popularity, there's a little bit of media news that broke a couple weeks ago. Go ahead, Ty.
Yeah, given all that, and again, I know you're not involved in this decision making and all, but what does that mean when baseball has all this momentum right now and then boom, all of a sudden ESPN is potentially going to lose baseball rights? Like, I'm one of those guys who grew up watching Baseball Tonight, and it is, if you're not watching a game, you're not really getting much coverage. I mean, now they're showing Ohtani and Judge and stuff like that, but the day-to-day coverage of baseball isn't what it used to be. Do you think if ESPN does lose, rights to games and stuff like that, how much can that potentially harm the MLB?
Well, I mean, that part of it, if you go to that conclusion, that's that's an unknown. I don't know that. I know that just being associated with it for so long and having hosted that show that you grew up watching and hearing all the time about Baseball Tonight, I have a hard time envisioning a world in which ESPN and Major League Baseball don't have a future. So as I've said before, I'm an optimist about that. I think there's a really good chance that we end up with baseball, and I've articulated the reasons for it. ESPN has a platform coming out that has every other sport on it, and baseball, I would think, would want to be part of that. If it's Noah's Ark and you're an animal and all the other animals are on it, you want to get on it too. True. You don't want to be left on an island.
So that's not over? I thought it was reported as if it's a done deal. You're saying that's not a done deal. That's what you say you're out.
No, they've opted out of it, but that doesn't mean they can't negotiate either side back into it. Nobody has yet, agreed to pick up the Sunday night deal package, if that exists in its current form next year. The home run derby, the wild card. Major League Baseball has a really good history of figuring out ways to get their product out there. This is a much bigger discussion about national versus regional, etc. I know that Jimmy Pitaro has said many times how much he wants to be involved with Major League Baseball. Where there's a will, there's a way. And is there going to be a way that we end up together? I think there is. We'll see. But what happens if it leaves ESPN? I don't know if the environment's different enough that when the NHL left, they weren't really heard from. Then they came back, and look at how popular the NHL is. that may not be applicable anymore. It may be very applicable. I don't know.
I'm intrigued because I'm getting into baseball for the first time ever.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
And we're covering baseball very early in the season here. We'll talk about baseball. We're talking about it every day here, Ravi. I don't know if you're seeing. We're talking.
Oh, I reached out to you preseason. I said, "Let's go. Here we go. Game 1. Let's start doing this. Let's do this weekly. Let's do this daily." I wanted to talk baseball on this platform. I want to talk baseball all the time.
Yeah, well,
I'm in.
We appreciate you doing that, and I appreciate baseball being great to us thus far this season. Now, hey, you tell baseball as a whole. You give me 2-3 weeks of shit, I'm out. Okay? I can't do it. I can do 1 week of cold bats. Okay? I can do 1 week of cold bats. I can do, 2 starts in a row by Skeens where the Pirates just let them down. I can do 2 or 3 of those. But if we got a 3-4 week period where baseball is just, which doesn't feel like it's around the corner at all, but it'll lose my interest. Right now, it's like every night. There's something.
There's too many good players.
There's something happening. Too many good teams, I think.
That too.
Yankees, Mets. Obviously, the Dodgers are doing their thing.
Padres.
The Red Sox are back in it. Yeah. Matt told me about that. Matt Ravech. I don't know if you know him.
Matty Pins, you mean?
Good bowler. Yeah, great bowler.
That guy was unbelievable at this entire thing. He can fucking spin that thing and really do it. But I think baseball is like doing it. And for us, selfishly, like the Pirates have the guy, going for it's not Shohei, but it's like.
Yeah, the test is always going to be, Pat. The test is always going to be you go through the beginning of the year. You hope you have your stars perform. Will the big markets be in it, and for how long? What happens when your Pirates go into a slump? God forbid, Skeens or somebody like that get hurt. Where do you go? Where does your interest? Like the key is this is to pardon the stupid. Analogy. This is a marathon. It's a long season. So there's peaks and valleys. Ugh. You hope that there's going to be enough superstars, big market teams, stories like Ovechkin. Maybe somebody goes and hits a homer 6, 7, 8 games in a row. So you glom on to different things, and you hope that baseball has the ability to take us through June, July, August, September, because then when you get to October, it's the best.
Shohei hits a walk-off last night. We don't even mention. Didn't a guy hit 3 home runs last night?
Yeah. Ivan Herrera, the catcher for the Cardinals, who no one is.
Cardinals put up a dozen, I think.
And he hit like all 3 of them into Big Mac land. They weren't like cheapies. Like he absolutely fucking blasted all 3 of them.
Yeah, didn't even talk about it because Shohei had a walk-off at 1 a.m. In the bottom of the 9th in our world. But it's like, guy hits 3 home runs in one night. Okay, I could tune into a home run derby.
No doubt.
I can watch. Yeah. I can watch that. I can also watch a pitcher slice and dice for an entire night. It's getting interesting. Baseball is getting very interesting.
And the Padres are undefeated.
Well, say this about the torpedo bats too, guys. Let's not discount what's going on in baseball.
Shut up, Tone.
The pitchers have had every single advantage the last, let's say, dozen years. Through analytics and metrics and all those cameras they got going. The hitters had nothing. So if a torpedo bat can help the hitters a little bit, it's better for the sport because we want runs. Baseball needs offense.
Yeah.
If the pitchers are going to slice and dice every night, that ain't going to work.
Every sport wants offense, including even UFC. Whenever people are just laying ground and pound, people don't get as excited. There was even a walk-off bunt last night.
Yeah.
Walk-off bunt last night. Good touch. Good touch with the barrel. We win the game. Let's go ahead and get the hell out of here. We did it at home. Walk-off bunt. Now we got another game tomorrow. Let's see if we can do it. That's the thing about baseball. You can enjoy these moments for about 4 hours, and then you're right on to the next one. A lot of magic happening early here. Go ahead, Tom.
No, I was to say, we haven't even mentioned the Padres are undefeated. And Jackson Merrill, who just got paid $135 million yesterday, hit a home run the day that he got paid $135 million. So
baseball.
Okay.
Baseball. Jackson Merrill's special. I'll tell you one thing. I would, you talk about Paul Skeens, who's young, the superstar pitcher for the Padres, and they have a lot of them. Just keep an eye on Michael King all year.
Fuck.
He was adequate in his first start. He punched out 11. I think gave up 2 hits in his second start. Keep your eye on Michael King.
I just learned from Ty that he was a Yankee, and then he was traded for Juan Soto, who is now a member
He was
of the
free
Mets.
agent after this year.
Yep.
Free agent after this season.
Back in the Bronx.
He could easily end up in the Bronx.
Yeah.
He's a Rhode Island kid. He could end up in Boston. He could end up in Baltimore.
Tell him.
He's going to Pittsburgh, brother.
He might be a Pirate. Yeah.
No one's going
Join
to
the
Pittsburgh.
Hundo boys.
No one's going to Pittsburgh.
Skeens, he could back up Paul Skeens.
And Jared Jones, he had a hundo. Can this kid touch Triple digits?
He's not throwing triple digits.
Oh, we don't want him.
Well, and that's
his
the thing
stuff
too,
is,
because
he's got the best stuff in Major League Baseball.
I just saw a 99-mile-an-hour splinter yesterday. Okay, that they didn't know if it was a four-seam fast. Ravi, let's relax.
he's very good. I don't know if he's going to accept like a 10-year, $45 million deal that the Pirates will
That's
offer
not
him.
what
You think we're going to give him $45 million? Yeah, right, brother.
At most.
With incentive base up to 22.
Reach to Boston.
All right, Ravi, we appreciate the hell out of you, buddy. Thank you for joining us.
Good to be with you guys. Have a good day.
Ladies and gentlemen, Karl Ravech.
Yeah, Ravi.
Michael King has 11 strikeouts through 5 innings of work.
He's filthy.
That was on April 1st.
He's absolutely filthy.
He's coming to Boston.
I don't like him saying he's got the best stuff in the game. I saw a 95-mile-an-hour
I think he got a little excited. He got a little carried away with himself.
Ravi?
Yeah,
I think
Ravi
so.
got a bit ahead of himself.
He's awesome, but
I just don't think he loves the Pirates organization. So
no,
Who
he said he's
does?
a Pittsburgh guy.
He said, yeah, I'm a Pittsburgh guy. They're going to have
he
162 out of one.
he said they're going to play all the games.
All the way
They
in
won't
on
complain.
Los
They won't play them.
Pyrotos.
No one loves the Pirates. Let's
What?
just call a spade a spade.
Okay, I'll say I don't love Pirates. But I love Paul Skeens.
Yeah, there you go.
Bingo.
And I love Pittsburgh teams winning.
There's a lot of people who love Pirates. They just don't like the owner.
I've heard on the internet that people in Pittsburgh are already saying, like, fuck this team. I'm out. This
What's the
season's
owner? It's the
over."
owner. You're waiting on moving on from the owner.
They're back after yesterday, too.
Yes, bingo.
If you listen, yeah, because Paul
Skeens
Skeens
Day.
historic. Yeah, and now we need the Pittsburgh Pirates Twitter account to maybe let people know
Mention
that
him.
Paul Skeens. Yes.
Let people know he's on the team. Just let us know he's on the team.
How about a scrolling? What was that? A 10-minute scroll to get to a
How do you think I
day.
found out that stat about fucking under 2 ERA, 175 plus strikeouts?
the MLB? I think.
No, that came from the Pirates.
Okay.
The MLB was tweeting out Skeens throws a gem right after the game.
Yeah, look at me. I'm retweeting. I'm
Pittsburgh
trying
is
to
like, who's this guy play for?
Is he on the Pirates? I see it. But to your point about them not liking the team of the Pirates, there are people that are diehard baseball people in Pittsburgh. They're Pirates fans. Those are going to be Pirates fans. Everybody in Pittsburgh, though, wants Pittsburgh teams to win. But if the Pittsburgh team's owner is not trying to win, they fucking hate that guy. And we've been at that point for like 5-10 years, seemingly, just reading from outside in on this particular guy.
Yeah, Boston's the exact same way. Like, they won the World Series in 2018, and that was with Mookie Betts and, a bunch of guys that ended up, getting basically kicked out the door. And so in the exact same sense, with John Henry, everyone hated the Red Sox owner, but now they have spent money. They brought in a pitcher, Crochet. Yeah, him. They just paid that Christian Campbell guy, Bregman, a couple of the guys Ravi was talking about. Like the Boston area is the same exact way. So I know what you're saying.
Yeah, so I think that's how Pittsburgh feels. And especially when Jet Passan on opening day does that promo about how shitty the team has been constructed and how they could have spent money around Paul Skeens. And then opening day, exactly what Jeff Passan said was going to happen, happens. Where Paul Skeens, where they
Gem.
I forget what it was, 4-1.
Yeah.
And then he leaves the bump, should be undefeated on the year. Instead, they give it up, they lose, boom, the whole thing. They're ruining Paul Skeens. That becomes the narrative after day one.
Those guys have been sent down. We're good. They're here.
Sent down to
They're in
the
Indy.
Yeah, doubleheader today.
Who's here?
Huh? Our setup guy and our closer. 3 games.
They
Down
play
in
for
Indy.
the affiliate. Remember
Yeah.
that team?
Oh, the Indianapolis
that?
Indians.
Correct.
Livy Dunn said
That's the
that.
name of the team. I didn't create the name of the team. This is, once again, I hate to be the one to tell people this, but this is the team name, the Indianapolis Indians. They're the AAA affiliate for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Paul Skeens pitched here, and he filled the entire city up whenever they want to do it, just like he does everywhere.
Guppy, what was it? I think he only pitched here in the minors. And what did Livy say? Man, there's some tough minor league towns.
Yeah, and they said this is the nicest
only one
one
she's ever been
by a
to.
mile.
Really?
Yeah, she said Indianapolis, more like nice town Annapolis.
Yeah, you're right. She did say that, didn't she?
Yeah.
Nice town, Annapolis.
Yeah, that's what people say.
Pirates fans were thrilled with how quickly their new ace was advancing, and so was his girlfriend. I'm actually very happy he flew through the minor leagues, Livy says, because some of those places were brutal. Let the record reflect that Paul Skeens here described Altoona as beautiful. Smart kid.
Altoona is beautiful.
Altoona Curve.
Altoona, I've been there once. I think Penn State,
Never heard-
Altoona.
never heard of
Is that school?
Yeah, Penn State Altoona has a Penn State has a satellite campus in Altoona. Yeah,
I think I've been up there.
home of very close to Dunder Mifflin.
Okay.
Oh, the Electric City.
Yeah, Scranton.
All right. Andy Reid sat next to Jay Glazer there.
Saw that.
Best
Right
pal.
next to him.
Next coach T, I love seeing
Jay
that.
Glazer's Super Bowl, as Schrager said.
Yeah.
I mean, it was awesome.
All year he's preparing for this. And those guys are getting bombed, is what Peter Schrager. Schrager's had a great week.
He did.
I think, personally.
Did very well.
On ESPN. He's always good on our show. Wasn't allowed on our show for a long time, for a while. But he was always good on our show whenever he was on our show. And then he was on Get Up, great. First Take adds a completely different element.
Yes.
Because he's coming from like I'm just telling you what
He came in.
Hey, this is not a. I'm not trying to go to war.
I'm not arguing with you.
I'm just telling you, like, this is kind of how. And he has so many connections, so much information. It's not like his first time on TV. It's like very polished. I love Schrags in his new role.
His first hit on First Take was talking about Jerry Jones and that whole situation, and he was so like, I don't know if he played it down just because of that reason. His voice was so mellow and so monotone for that whole thing, just talking so just basic about Jerry, and then because I think he knew Stephen A was coming in over top on the Cowboys.
And I would assume Schrager's going to try to balance too, like the on ESPN and even our show sometimes there's going to be swings at people, and things and teams and organizations and events and yada yada. Schrager's like an insider, So Schrager's. I mean, hey, I didn't say it. The amount of Schrags being like, well, also trying to balance relationships as an insider. It's like Schefty, whenever things start getting takey, you normally see Schefter go, well, I think they did that. Like, normally sticking up for almost every. Schrags, insider, pundit, analyst, like, he is also all these things. He's a utility player. Yeah. I think he's a great add to ESPN.
Especially coming from Good Morning Football, where everything is just like so positive, and they don't do that at all. Like, they're not taking shots at anybody, really. They're celebrating every team, every player. And then, you go on First Take, and it's like you're in the 2 box with Stephen A shitting on some team. So, like that, I'm sure that's going to be a bit of
It is a little different world.
Bit of an adjustment.
A little bit different world. But I think he was great. I enjoy old Schrags.
Yeah, he's the man.
Schrags can handle any situation. He can handle any sport. You could throw him anywhere, and he'll be knowledgeable. He'll be good at it.
But he knows, like the football, he knows it so inside out because he knows the people that are kind of running it. Like Jay Glazer has that thing. I'm sure if Schrags was to have one of a gathering of some sort, all of the younger coaches that are kind of getting all the gigs would be there. He's like kind of grown up with them in the thing. That's a weapon for ESPN to have as the NFL coverage only continues to grow, we assume.
Yeah, him and Greeny in the mornings as well. We were talking about him on First Take, but him.
Those two should have a coffee.
They should.
They should each have a coffee, and they should just sit there for 15, 20 minutes and like Greeny just pepper them, And I think they kind of did that the other day.
Shooting the shit with Schrags.
Boom.
Got a couple segment ideas, actually. For
They might say, we've been thinking of ideas for segments around ESPN, and some of them we don't think would ever land, but we think they would do well.
Yeah.
But you could call it shooting it straight instead of straight. Shooting it straight.
Shooting it Schrag.
With Schrager.
Yeah, shooting it Schrager.
Shooting it straight with Schrager, and have Greeny say straight maybe. Shooting it straight with Schrager.
Yeah.
Could be something. Something to think about.
Shooting it with Pistol Pete, maybe. We could throw a P in there somehow.
Shooting it straight with Pistol Pete?
Yeah, or instead of shooting it straight,
Oh, with Pistol Peter.
Yeah.
Maybe it's Pistol Peter Schrager shooting it straight.
Yeah, there it is.
Pistol Peter Schrager shooting it straighter than you.
Bingo.
With Mike Greenberg.
That's pretty good.
That's the one.
Yep.
All right, dump that so they don't steal our
Dump
idea.
it. TM.
Pistol Peter Schrager shooting it straighter than you. With Mike Greenberg.
At that little, two-seater in the corner.
Yeah, in the journalism.
Yeah, in the journalism corner.
The journalism corner with the stairwell up and nothing. Yeah.
The books.
A lot of books.
Fuck yeah.
Speaking of, how are those books?
Huh?
They're doing well, man. Doing very well.
Isn't it amazing that they've just remained titleless, authorless, nameless?
Yep.
Because after I read them, I put them right back in the same spot.
Yeah, but after you read them, you say, all right, I don't need to know the name of this book anymore or the author. Let me
file it off.
File it off, yeah. And just put it right back up there. Only I can know what book this is. Not a single... The blue one, I guess, has a name, but I think it's because you wrote it on there. What was the name? What was the name of the blue one there? What is the name of that book?
I believe that was Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand. That was A-Rod's thing. I got that right over the shoulder.
Yeah, that book club was a fun run. Do you remember the book club run?
Oh yeah.
We had, nobody will give us credit for this, obviously, because we're doofuses. I think we were part of like the second largest book club on earth. Okay, Oprah has hers. Going to be tough to catch up to. But if you go by just strictly people that bought Aaron Rodgers book club merch, let alone the people that participated and follow along. Just merch. We had thousands and thousands of people following along with this book club. And then the analysis of the books that were chosen by people it was, what did you give us, a Bible one time? What was that book?
The Fingerprints of the Gods.
Fingerprints of the Gods. All right, next week we'll get a new book for this week. Want you to read this 4,000 pages. Yeah,
it's a little dense, but...
And it was.
And then he would drop one in there just to...
And funny enough.
Hey, why don't we read about what happened in insert name of controversy of the past that relates to today. Just read this one. I'll see you next week or whatever it is.
Yeah, Fingerprints of the Gods, pretty funny now with the new info about the pyramids, isn't it?
Yeah, what's going on? What's going on?
I don't know, let's just say I looked into giant people.
What's underneath?
Where'd he go last OTAs?
He went over to Egypt June 6th, 2024. Right? 6/6/24.
Did he discover the stuff underneath?
What if he put his palms on there? There's some energy coming.
Started shifting.
Yeah.
There's some chambers down here. We got to check this out.
Hold on
Where
now.
the fuck is the energy coming from? Can you feel it? And then you got whoever he was with, who we probably know, going, "Oh yeah, I can feel it."
Yeah, in my toes.
And then putting their hand on his shoulder, hand on the pyramid. That might be how they found it.
Yeah, actually.
Let's get some light. Can we get some LiDAR out here? These guys are feeling it for sure.
Hey, the guy said they felt some things. Who? Sir Aaron Rodgers and
his
You should have seen them all shaking together. Yeah.
His tattoo on his arm lights up. Starts glowing.
No. You're right.
Starts hitting the light switch like he's Merriman.
That'd be great.
We don't know.
There's a chance
That's
that
what we're
possible.
saying. We don't know. And if you're going to report what we just said, just know that we do not have any firm truth that is the case.
No.
We're just letting you know it could be.
Yeah.
With Aaron Rodgers, fucking could be.
Yeah, he legitimately might have gone down
Could
there.
be the truth. He could have thrown football. That thing lands in the desert, big hole in the sand. He goes down to get it, and he feels some pulsing.
Boom, boom. Boom, boom.
Is this thing alive? You feel this? Somebody else comes in. They might have got a shovel out. The reason why I couldn't make the OTAs, they might have had a shovel, and then all of a sudden they're 2 miles deep, and they're like, "Holy fuck!"
Then the sand parts like the Red Sea, and he just walks to the.
And then someone comes out. We've been waiting for you, Aaron Rodgers.
There's a chance.
Yeah.
We don't know if that's true or not.
No.
Okay,
And it's Artie Smith.
it could have been Arthur Smith.
Yeah, with his brother drinking beer.
Love his brother.
Yeah.
Just sitting in the back of the pub. CEO of FedEx.
Welcome home, Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, I can see that.
What have you talked to him? What's this guy? What's he doing? Is he
That's
trying
a great-
to find more coils under different world wonders? What the fuck's going on?
Seven's got a theory.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, what is this theory?
Here's Ben Roethlisberger from the Footballing with Ben Roethlisberger podcast.
But I think Aaron's secretly, again, just my opinion, I think Aaron is secretly still holding out for Minnesota, which is why he hasn't signed with the Steelers. Why else would you not? Why else would you go throw with DK and be working out and put it out, blast to everybody that I'm throwing to these guys, but you won't sign? So I just think he's holding out for Minnesota.
You think he's really gonna go try to complete the Brett Favre Infinity Gauntlet?
I just think he thinks that Minnesota is a more complete, closer team to win a Super Bowl.
Good question on Spencer there. It was like a little bit of excessive stuff. I watched the Football and Pod, made me want to go to Giant Eagle immediately, by the way.
Yeah.
Giant Eagle sponsor of the Football and Pod. Perfect relationship there, especially in Pittsburgh. Can't wait to hopefully get back to Pittsburgh and enjoy some Giant Eagle next week before a big night. With that being said, I think there's a lot of people that feel the same way that Ben Roethlisberger feels, AJ Hawk. I think there's a lot of people thinking that way, but then the reporting is the Vikings aren't in on Aaron. But then, so Aaron, instead of maybe finding the coils under the pyramids, for some so for that would mean that Aaron would have different information than what's being reported basically about the Vikings. And then, I mean, certainly feasible and possible. And if you think about Aaron on that Vikings team, you would say that feels like an offense that he knows he would be able to operate in. That feels like an offense where he's probably not going to be asked to take a lot of hits, or any hits really. That feels like an offense where people are going to be open, where if he can spin it, which he will be able to do until he dies, legitimately, which we saw out of the UCLA clip, that would be a team that we would obviously enjoy the Aaron Rodgers experience of watching. With the Pittsburgh Steelers now, that feels like a team that is also built to go, but it's a different built team. It's not going to be the same style as a Kevin O'Connell offense. It's an Arthur Smith offense. It's in Pittsburgh. It's not in a dome. It is very, very cold. It is it's just two different operations. So maybe that is the case. AJ, you would know a lot more than us. Do you think Ben Roethlisberger is just kind of trying to piece it together in his mind? What do you think Ben's thinking whenever he says something like this?
I mean, when you hear Ben say that, yeah, it would make sense. If you look at both teams, you would think the Vikings are, closer to getting to the Super Bowl than the Steelers are, but we don't know. We see what teams like the Commanders do in one season, so you don't really know. But yeah, I would assume, like, if you're a quarterback, wouldn't you want to throw to Justin Jefferson and have that Minnesota defense and everything that they have around them? I'm not saying the Steelers don't have weapons, but I mean, Aaron got to watch up close and personal for a while how good the Vikings can be.
Yeah, and the Vikings, once again, we think the Pittsburgh Steelers are good. They are good. Pittsburgh Steelers are good, but it's a different style. Very quarterback-friendly offense in Minnesota, especially for what his talent is. We had Kevin O'Connell down at the owner meetings last year whenever they were trying to figure out which quarterback they wanted to take, and we asked him, what's the most important part of being a quarterback in your system? He said accuracy. Well, there happens to be a guy, who is probably the most accurate guy in the history of football.
Statistically.
And Aaron Rodgers throwing it, So you would think that would be something that Aaron would see, and Kevin O'Connell probably sees as well. It's just, are they trying to figure out if J.J. McCarthy's their guy? Have the Vikings told him he's the guy if he wants to come? Obviously, him working out of UCLA kind of rules out retirement in my eyes, unless he's just working out to stay in shape, which obviously J.J. Watt's still squatting and still doing everything, and he's not playing. True. So it's an interesting dynamic. It certainly is. I like hearing old Ben talk about it, though.
It was funny. Nick and I watched this at the exact same time, and we looked at each other and said, I wonder why Ben thinks this. Because it's exactly what Ben would have done at the end of his career. Ben's just thinking, what would have I done? Like, we looked at each other and we're like, oh, this is exactly, Ben's thinking this because he's like, oh, that's exactly what I would do if I was in Aaron's position.
How about Ben going, you think? Last contract, kind of last hoorah.
What would have I done?
Who is the closest to in that offense? Once again, love the Steelers. Ben has done a lot for Pittsburgh.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that is a fast. What has he said to you, AJ? What have you talked to Aaron? Has it been?
No, I haven't recently. I don't know. I don't know exactly what he's saying.
Oh, dude, I'm actually a terrible friend, bro. I'm not the fucking guy.
Are you talking to me?
Yeah, what a terrible guy.
Oh, you mean
Aaron Rodgers? I told him to fucking scram, dude, till he makes a decision.
I don't know. I thought it would have happened by now. Didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, but what I think doesn't matter. What you think, you see, does. So
I think what one dude thinks is what matters, and no one really knows what that dude thinks.
Back to the original question, that Pat asked you, what has he said to you? You said, I don't know. You think he'd sign. Don't you? That was your answer to the question.
He never told me that. He never told me he would sign by any time. I've never asked him directly, hey, is there a deadline? When are you going to sign? What are you going to do? No, I have not asked him any of those questions. I haven't spoken with him in multiple days.
Okay.
So I don't know. I don't know what's been going on, why? Are we waiting until after the draft? Are we waiting right before the draft? What are we doing?
Listen, if you get a chance to ask him, please do. Also, let him know we said hello. Okay.
And tell us about Egypt. Right. What was he doing?
The Derby's coming up, so find out.
Yeah. Derby. Also, the Coils in Egypt.
Yep.
Big night out.
Okay. Stop putting that out in the atmosphere.
It's getting close. I'm getting texts from people that are predicting it, that are playing that are in positions in the NFL, in front offices.
Too many people that are in the world are so is he on Wednesday night at Big Night Out? Your big surprise, as you said. Is that and I'm like, would be wild. And I think Nick went on Kaboli and Mac, or Mac and Kaboli podcast back in Pittsburgh, and they asked him, they're like, hey, we're here, and the Kaboli classic, that Aaron's going to sign at Big Night Out. And Nick gave a great answer. He's like, we appreciate the thought that people think that we have enough sway that the Pittsburgh Steelers are just going to wait, okay, for a show that's never happened before. Pittsburgh Steelers are going to be like, so it's a show that's never existed before, Big Night Out. Yeah, well, we're cool with it, yeah. Just wait until that night just to kind of do it. And Aaron's also like, you know what? I want to do this at a show that's never happened. Big Night, yeah, I want to do that. And that is a massive compliment. I don't think people know that is kind of a compliment, but also would be an asinine ask by me to be like, hey, Steelers, fucking save it, okay?
Aaron.
Okay.
Aaron, don't say anything.
Don't do it
until big night out. Okay, April 9th. That's when this all goes down. Like that would be. But as we get closer to the date, I start thinking to myself, now, Aaron, if you would like to make a decision, next Wednesday, I do know a place where a bunch of Steelers fans are probably going to be.
It'd be cool.
You know where this goes to?
What's that?
If it doesn't happen, then everyone's going to think it's going to happen the draft spectacular in Green Bay.
No, people will probably say that we're a bunch of woke cowards because we wouldn't let Aaron do it at Big Night Out.
They probably would say.
Remember that?
Yeah.
They won't give him a platform. That's probably going to be talked about at Big Night Out. I'm pretty excited to talk about a lot of stuff at Big Night Out. That's going to be a good, just now at the Open, 15-20 is going to be pretty good. It's going to be a pretty, it's going to be a pretty solid collection of happenings in my life and my perspective on the things. Should be a fun thing. Now, granted, if there is a quarterback that's going to sign with the Pittsburgh Steelers, his name's Aaron Rodgers, and it happens at Big Night Out, just know that has not been a plan and is currently not a plan. But if it does happen, be a pretty epic way to kind of introduce your Steelers run, Aaron.
Yes, it would.
So please relay that messaging to him from us. Okay?
Think about it. He comes out, puts a Steelers jersey on, maybe full pads. Maybe just comes out in full pads, full uniform.
Jogging. Pyro.
Throws the ball off some people's face in the front row and breaks their head off.
I think Pittsburgh people would respect that.
Yeah, he's got a live arm. Still got a live arm.
Ayahuasca box the whole PPG Paints Arena.
Can you do that? I've seen the TP.
I've seen the TP, yeah.
I don't know if you could just hot box with ayahuasca.
An Aya box, if you will.
Yeah, thank you.
If you will.
I didn't want to shorten it in case people didn't know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
We're talking about ayahuasca.
Yeah.
Which is actually DMT.
Sure.
Some of that frog juice.
Yeah, you want to knock on the door, open the door, or walk through the door?
Well, I want to head the 10th one.
Which door is
let's
it?
walk through.
You know, people change and never come back from those things.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they do.
I've seen it.
Lived it.
Some people get lost and they won't come back. We know that.
Like Inception.
On that note. Oh, mama, mommy, oh, my life, I wonder if Aaron's been listening to that out on that beach.
I would assume so.
Oh.
Yeah.
Let the wave.
Yeah.
With the wave noises?
Wave
Oh,
noises in
man,
between.
it's putting into my running, and I'm so far from my home.
He added his own.
Yeah, he says that.
Yeah.
How's it going?
Good.
That's 3 pens down, I think, on the day.
Oh, it's been way more than that.
I've only seen 3. I've heard 4 of them, maybe.
I picked them up before the last break.
Okay. He's the drummer that's flipping the sticks, and then they hit off the microphone and then go right there.
They hit this thing. That's the real problem. You know why I keep papers here? Because if
soften it.
Bingo.
That's like if I pick up my phone and I put it down, you hear it, and then it hits this thing every once in a while.
Yeah, bingo.
We should put pads underneath this.
And around it, because it never hits this. It always
Like
hits
rubber. You can put little rubber things down.
Yeah, we could down underneath there.
Placemats, like rubber placemats. They have them.
Those are annoying sounds.
Mouse pad?
Mouse pad's not bad.
Maybe.
You ever see D-Bone work his mouse on the arm of the chair, and he has to roll the ball?
Yeah.
It's pretty good work.
I mean, he's a fucking idiot. There's an entire thing that he could put his mouth.
I don't think that's the case.
Okay.
I think D-Bone is a talent. I think he's no longer a champion in Thunder Buckets.
I was going to say, to my point, we played 6 game of Thunder Buckets on Wednesday. Today's Thursday. On Tuesday, we win all of them. Yesterday, we go to play. He goes, okay, go ahead. You shoot first. I said, brother, we won 6 games yesterday, and I shot second every time. Like, what the fuck do you mean I go first?
You guys had some chemistry issues yesterday early. We could sense it over
Big
the other
time.
side.
Right away, too.
Clean sweep by me and Foxy, the whole office yesterday. Yeah. And we took a beating the day before, too, Connor and D-Bone. So we probably knew that wasn't going to happen on back-to-back days. But as soon as D-Bone and Connor stepped up to the line and they started bickering before the first shot, we knew it was problematic.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we knew it was problematic. Especially in Thunder Buckets. You need good synergy.
Yes.
He played well game 2. I will say. He showed up game 2. I did not.
I do appreciate the fact that he is, it's kind of unpredictable. Like, is he going to chest pass that thing through the hoop, or is he going to try to shoot it each time? Sometimes it feels like he just wastes a turn. And it's like, that was an interesting decision by you. And then the next time he'll, like, shoot it, and it'll go in. It's like, that might be. And then the next one, he's like, but I think I got 2 to 3 more pitches in my bag.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, and then he starts trying new shit. And when that's hitting, it's good.
He's what we're calling Thunder Buckets.
Yeah.
He's the Thunder Buckets beef stew. You know, that's who he is when it comes to the league.
I don't know if I'd give him that much
Beef Stew's got a lot of grit.
He's a good rim protector, too.
A lot of dog.
I mean, look,
the giant of Kandahar.
That's a 6-time.
He's kind of like
He's kind of like six-time champ. Let's not just act as if he's won nothing.
You're talking about Debo?
Yeah, I'm talking about Debo.
I think he's more
I don't
of a
know
Robert
if every
Horry.
game counts as a championship.
What is it? Oh, okay, so he's a one-time champ. Okay, so he's like the Jokic of the league.
Yeah, exactly.
I think he is the Jokic of the league.
No, he is not. He's not hanging 61 ever, brother.
I saw him make a lot of buckets.
Yeah, but then he'll change his strategy. You know that.
And he's stubborn, and he won't go back after that either.
Yeah, and he won't put cheese on a burger. Whatever the case. I mean, there's a lot going on with D-Bone. Hey, way to go, D-Bone. You're doing great.
D-Bone. There you go, Bone.
Proud of you, Bone. How about Dirty doing farmers walks? Did you see those?
Oh, yeah.
Fucking Dirty's getting after it in there.
Yeah.
He's walking around the gym with 2 kettlebells, heavy ones, just walking around. Nice. Everybody's kind of getting after it right now. It's a good time. The weather's changing in a violent way.
Very much so, yeah.
Be careful.
Flooding is the big thing now.
I just
we're in like a flood watch, through the rest of the weekend.
I saw a tweet. We had 728 severe and tornado warnings combined yesterday, the most active day since 2011.
Okay, so let's keep our head on a swivel, obviously.
Always.
Let's help out when we can. Let's send positive prayers and vibes to everybody that's battling through anything, and let's enjoy what we got. You know, that there is a perspective that is put into place whenever you're standing in your house and you think there's a chance it's going to disappear. It's like, maybe you shouldn't worry about some things, because in this moment right now, it feels like I could lose everything. Mm-hmm. And some people do. So with that being said, let's enjoy this life while we have it. Could die at any moment. Let's never forget it. Be a friend, tell a friend something nice. It might change their life. We're in this thing together. Can't wait for big night next Wednesday night on YouTube, X, maybe.
Yeah, we'll see.
Maybe TikTok Live.
TBD.
Be a friend, tell a friend something nice. It might change your life. We're in this thing together. Team on me. Team on 3. 1, 2, 3. Team. Goodbye.